Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dribbz Talks podcast. We're bringing it to you real, raw and uncut. A safe place where we can talk about anything and everything. So like, share and subscribe. But most importantly, keep it locked. Everything's gonna be just fine. Everything's gonna be okay. Just take one step at a time. That's what the leaflets say. Yes, people, we are back with another episode of Dribbz Talks. As you know by now, it's the podcast that brings you some of our finest citizens today and brings them into the hot seat to share their stories with the intention of others relating. And with this, I bring you a man that's been on my radar to interview for so long now. His name's Lee Stevens. Welcome to the show, mate.
Nice one, mate.
How you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm all good.
Yeah?
A bit out of my comfort zone.
Don't worry, man, it's all good. I say this with a lot of my guests, just roll with it, you know. These questions that I do a bit of research and look into and write beforehand, they're never anything that's going to catch you out, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm here, so I take full control of this, bro. So you're in the hot seat, man, and I know you're passionate about the things we're going to be talking about tonight, and yeah, you know, you're here for a reason, bro, and I know you're more than capable of this. So let's do this. Firstly, Lee, then, for the listeners that may not have heard of you, can you just give them a quick introduction about yourself and explain why you think I might have asked you here tonight?
So, I'm Lee Stevens. I've got a very troubled past, and I changed my life around, and now I run a men's mental health group, and I give back to the community.
What's that mental health group called, bro?
Primal Instincts.
Come on, Primal Instincts. I mean, getting big in your field, man. There's a lot of people that I know that I've spoke to, a lot of random people, and I've mentioned Primal Instincts, and they at least know one person that's involved in it. Yeah, even if it ain't directly you, they at least know someone that's carrying the flag. Do you know what I mean? So
like, we have like 200 members, and like we have various people, from like ex-professional boxers to solicitors. We've even got a police officer in there, what no one knows about. I didn't know he was a police officer till he pulled me over. Jeez.
No, that would have been a shock.
Yeah, I was like, but you know, we have all different kinds of people, and mental health does not judge. Do you know what I mean? It comes for absolutely everyone.
Mate, I'm totally with you there. I was always like, prior to going through depression and the things that I've been through, I was always one of them people that was like, how can he be depressed? He's got a nice car. How can he be depressed? He goes on holiday 3 times a year.
Yeah,
but
man,
having that mindset was just foolish. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
it wasn't
exactly that.
But you learn, don't you? You learn, you know?
Well, I see myself as an alpha male. I fought in the cage. I won a gold medal in the championships and stuff. And I sort of put myself out there as quite like a dominant male, and like I'm dead competitive, and I'm always out there. And obviously I went to prison. When I come out of prison, I really struggled, man.
Yeah,
I really fucking struggled, to the point where, like, a lot of people won't admit this, but I'm happy to admit that once upon a time I thought of killing myself.
Yeah. And
not many people will tell you that. A lot of people will go shy and they won't admit it, but I'm happy to say, yeah, life dragged me down that much, that I wanted to kill myself.
Was that all around the time of coming out of prison and trying to get used to kind of the normal life?
Yeah, because I was so out of control to being locked in a cell, banged up 23 hours a day. I was in like a Cat B prison. I was classed as a high risk. So then I started getting home leaves, and I started coming back out, and I'd be around my friends and family, and I felt so uncomfortable being around just people. Do you know what I mean?
And now look at you though, bro. You've come a long way. Do you know what I mean? That shows progression.
Yeah, that's it.
The fact that you can sit here and say all that.
Yeah, so I've just been grinding for the last like 10 years to get to a position where I've got a wife. Do you know what I mean? I never even thought I'd make it to the age of 30, and I've just turned 40. So I've got a wife and kids, and I've managed to buy a house. So I feel like I'm blessed.
Yeah.
To where I was when I was released from prison. I was sleeping on an airbed on the living room floor. Like, I didn't have nowhere to go. I was on my arse, and if it wasn't for my wife at the time, she held me together like glue.
Yeah.
And or I would have probably been back in prison.
Yeah. It's a vicious circle, isn't it?
Yeah, I was really struggling.
Do you agree with the aspect of, sorry to interrupt you there, bro, do you agree with the aspect of like going into prison only teaches you how to be a a better prisoner. Is that what they say, because of the links that you get when you're in there? Or...
Do you know what? It was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Okay.
At the time, because I was so out of control. Like, I probably would have ended up killing someone or ended up being dead.
Yeah.
There was no ifs or buts about that, because I was fighting in the cage. I was knocking people out in the first round. I thought I was the man. I was ranked in the top 5 in the UK of the amateurs. At the time, I thought I was unstoppable. I used to always say, I'm invincible. I'd jump on a motorbike doing 100 miles an hour and I'm invincible, nothing's going to happen to me. And then I got caught up in a conspiracy, and I was branded as an enforcer for a drug cartel, and they locked me up for a long time. And when I come out, I thought, I didn't know who I was anymore. Am I Lee, the MMA fighter? Am I Lee, the troublesome? Am I Lee, the dad? I didn't even know who I was anymore. I was sort of lost in myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get
it's
that.
quite hard to describe.
Yeah. I like I said, I know I'm repeating this, but the progression, obviously, you sat here being able to reflect on all that it's something good, mate. You know what I mean? It's something positive, definitely.
Yeah.
But you don't need me to tell you that. You know that yourself, and I'm sure you've had, obviously, doing what you do with the mental health, you've had many a time to reflect on everything, haven't you, bro?
Yeah, man. So I have like a little bit of a motto. I say to like the blokes in Primal Instinct is that sometimes you need to have 5 minutes for yourself, so you can be the best version for everyone else. Because if I'm putting every single person before me, that means I'm not putting myself first. That means you're not going to get the best version of me.
100%.
You're going to get third or fourth best version of me. So for me personally, I go to the gym every morning, 4:30 in the morning, and that hour is not for anyone else. That hour in that gym is for me.
Yeah.
And I have strong body, strong mind. So as long as I can keep fit and healthy, I know the demons upstairs are not going to get me.
Exactly.
I feel strong.
So did you go to the gym every single day?
Every morning,
day.
Yeah, every single day. And I teach as well. I teach MMA, so I like to keep fit, healthy.
Yeah.
And man,
don't judge from the dad bod here, mate. Do you know what I mean? I'm sucking myself in when you mention that you go to the gym every day. But anyway, yeah, I get that, mate. I get that. It is important to take time for yourself as well. I mean, the way my counsellor was explaining it to me was like, when I first realised I first realised I was depressed. We won't go too much into that, but because I've already explained my story, and this is about you guys, like, but when I first approached my counsellor, as far as I was concerned, there was nothing wrong with me. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know I was depressed. I thought it was just the norm because I'd experienced it every day, until this counsellor said to me, and he explained to me in a really interesting way, and I'll never forget it. He was like, everyone has a battery. He was like, and if your battery's drained, you're not the best possible father, you're not the best possible husband, you know what I mean? You're not the best possible anything. So you need to take time to charge that battery. And I've found kind of what charges me up, and that is spending time with my children, but also making music, like I said to you.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? That charges me up. But everyone's got something, haven't they?
Yeah, no, I
kind of wish it was the gym like you, bro, because I might be sat here a bit hench, but yeah, there's still time to change, though, isn't there?
Yeah, well, if I wasn't so literate, I'd probably be the same as you with hip-hop and that one, but I've just always been like quite a physical person. Yeah. But exactly like what you just said, I always say to the guys, the whole part of like Primal Instinct is like, to be the best man you can possibly be. Now, if that means like you just taking 5 minutes for yourself so you can be the best dad to your kids, because a lot of kids are growing up without role models.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I probably wouldn't have ended up in prison if I would have had better role models around me. But I was growing up on the council estate, looking up to drug dealers and rough lads and stuff. So you sort of like adapt to your surroundings, don't you?
Yeah, you definitely do. Like, now, Primal Instincts is exactly why obviously I asked you to jump in the hot seat. But if men didn't suffer, then there would be no Primal Instincts, let's face it.
Yep.
So with that, I'm keen to know your journey, bro, like your own mental health. So growing up, was you someone who would happily express how they felt, or did you keep a lot of feelings to yourself?
I kept a lot of feelings to myself. I was brought up with 3 sisters, mum and dad. Like probably late teenage years, my dad suffered with an addiction of alcohol, and that played like a massive toll within the house. And so what the counsellor said to me was, childhood traumas what created me the way I am. So I'm very confrontational because I had to be. I had 3 sisters. I want to keep my 3 sisters safe, so anyone would have said something bad to them, I was landing on them.
Fuck 'em up.
And it like if my dad was like verbally abusive towards my mum, I was like bang straight in front of my mum, no matter like how big I was. I was always like, so I found like I become that protective person.
100%.
So as growing up, I become protective of the weaker members in class, the weaker members anywhere I'd go. If I saw someone getting a bit of shit, I'd be like, oh, you fucking leave him alone. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And that'd really that'd trigger a fire inside me.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, man, I got involved in trouble quite a lot, man. So what I did was, my pain, I inflicted onto other people.
Yeah.
So that's what the counsellors told me anyway. And I did a lot of like breathing stuff, and like people laugh when you say you go to counsellor. Like when I first said it to my mates, they were like, "What? You went to a counsellor?" Damn right, I went to a counsellor.
How many years ago was that? Just out of curiosity.
About 7-8 years ago.
See, this is what I mean, bro. The fact you're saying that, like nowadays, if you were to say I went to a counsellor, all right, how'd you get on? 6 or 7 years ago, it was a bit like, whoa, what do you mean you've been to a counsellor?
So like, and everyone seen me as like this, you know, rough lad, and you know he's deals with shit with his hands and whatever else. So I was like, I had to. I lost myself. I had a bit of a breakdown. A lad at work fell, broke his back. So there was a lot of investigations going on at work because I was scaffolding at the time. And then my daughter was going through some shit with her mum. And then I had a newborn baby and a toddler at the time. So I was working all these hours. I was coming home. My wife was going straight out to work, leaving me with all this. And it was like I had stress at work, stress at home. And like that kettle just bubbled up, and then it just went poof, and I just lost my head, lost control, and then like I blacked out. And then I come round, and I was on the Silking Way, and I didn't have any shoes on. I was fucking sweat was pouring out of me, and it was probably the first time I got upset and cried in probably about since I was probably about 12. Wow. Something like that. So that was, and then when I went home, the police were there, and obviously I got arrested. And then that's when I sat there and I thought, what has my life come to? Like, I'm an adult now, and I've been to prison, and now I need why am I so unstable? Yeah. Why am I not like? I look at my cousins and I see they got great jobs and a beautiful family, and they're great dads and they're great husbands, and I'm just like, why can't I fucking be like them? And I didn't realise I'm riddled with ADHD. You know what I mean? And I've got troubled childhood traumas, they say. So
yeah. What's the counselling like? Was the counselling you? Because for me, the reason why I raised a smile when you said about childhood trauma, it wasn't from a bit of a dodgy point of view. It was the fact of that's what I was kind of diagnosed with, and the counselling that I had was childhood trauma counselling, and it did me the world of good, mate. Like, genuinely, stuff about what my dad put me through and stuff that was out of my control as a child. I had a lot of anger in life, and I think like it all made everything get put into perspective. Do you know what I mean?
So pretty much exactly the same as you. But I went to the doctors and I told them this is like the acts of violence I've committed sober and stuff. It's been bad, but I've been able to control it. I had no control. Yeah. I missed. Boom, I was gone.
And that's when people do bad things.
Yeah, so then I was scared because I'm an MMA fighter. I'm not a normal, everyday guy. Like, I trained MMA for years. I know how to hit someone, as horrible as it sounds. Yeah. And I know how to break someone's arm and stuff. So it's just like, if I can't control myself, then I've got an issue. So I went to the doctors, and it's not like me to go to the doctors. I don't believe in taking antidepressant tablets and that, like, and stuff. I'm just like totally against it. And I sat there, and when I tried to speak to him, I couldn't get my words out, and I just sat there and stared at him for a minute, and I was like, I need help, and I don't know what to do. I said, I don't come to the doctors. I said, I'm in trouble. And then he sort of like looked at me, he said, what do you mean you're in trouble? I said, I just lost control of myself. I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't cry. I said, and I've just got emotional for the first time in a very, very long time. I said, all my emotions always goes to anger. I said, and I've lost control. I said, and I've hurt someone close to me. I said, and that's not okay. It's not acceptable in my eyes. I was brought up around that kind of life, and I don't want it for my kids.
Yeah.
And so then he was like, okay. So he organised the counselling for me. It's quite hard to get in with the doctors in tertiary medical practice, but this one doctor, he's just like a really nice guy, and he's just someone you can just talk to.
Okay. It's hard to find them, bro.
Yeah, and so I've never had that before, where I just had a chat with him, and you know, it was just like a chat with one of your mates, and he put me onto the counselling. And I remember when I first went in there, I felt like an absolute sausage. I'm not going to tell you any lies. I felt like, you know, I felt weak. I felt like,
I suppose it's one of the first, because you saying about like how focused you were on everything, like you're fighting everything. This is one of the first times that you're admitting defeat, almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I was a broken man. I was a shadow of the man what I could be. I was a shadow of the man I once was, and I felt embarrassed that I didn't know who I was anymore. And I was like when I was around certain people, am I lead a football hooligan? Am I lead the cage fighter? Am I lead? And I was like, fucking hell, if I'm questioning who I am, what the fuck's going on in my head? Do I need to go to a nut house? Like, and then, I started sitting with the counsellor, and I told her what happened, and I told her like a bit of my past, and then I thought I was only going to have this one session, and I was going to bounce, and I'll be absolutely okay, and everything's okay. And I come out of this session, and I sat down on this bench by the park, and I just started crying. Just sat there, and I just cried on my own. And that was the first time where I properly really let it out, and I was just like, I couldn't. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know how to deal with these emotions. I hadn't cried since a kid, so then these emotions have come up, and I'm like, and I fell out by this time. I fell out with my family, fell out with my mom, dad, sisters, and I was like, I needed help. I needed people to help me to lighten the load of stress I was having, and I was in a dark place, man. And I told the counsellor pretty much everything, and I told him like I felt like killing myself, and they asked a strange question. They was like, have you thought about how you do it? And I was like, no shit, Sherlock. Of course I fucking have.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? I was like, and then
why did they ask that though? Were they coming to some ulterior motive there? Or like what?
I don't know if they thought I was being serious or not.
Okay.
So, and I was like, just when I get like this, when I feel awkward, a bit like nervous, I get this stupid smile.
Okay.
And like, it's when I have confrontation with people, they think I'm joking sometimes. I have this stupid grin on my face, and I'm like, I like now, like I get put in awkward moments, and I have this stupid smile, but people seem to gravitate towards it. So I just chatted with the counsellor, and we found out some of my problems. She gave me some breathing mechanisms and sent me some homework to go home with, and I ended up sitting there most nights learning how to, basically, it sounds stupid, but I was learning how to breathe. Okay. So when I get put in like a conflict or confrontation or something, you know, when your heart starts to beat. Yep. So it was learning how to control my breathing, because once my breathing started getting erratic, that's when I was likely to lash out and like and have a. Did you find them breathing techniques work for you? Yes. Wicked. Do you still use them now? Yes. Nice. Yeah, man. Sometimes I do. Like, so like, we're down the river last year, and I keep on having an altercation with this fucking canoeing guy, the canoe club, and it was because I wanted to put Ricky's bench where Ricky's safe space was. And of course they weren't happy with it, yeah. And he was like, no, it's my land. I was like, no, it's not your land, it's the council's land. I said, you just hire it. I said, but it's a public path. I said, there's council benches there. I just want to put this bench here for Ricky's family and us, where it's Ricky's safe space. I said, so we can come sit down and just, you know, listen to the river flowing and that. And he was like, no. And I just remember standing there looking at him, and I was like, no. Did that smile come on your face? Yeah, did it? This big smile. And I was like, do I throw him in the river or not? Yeah, I was like, it's the second time I had the altercation with this guy, and then I walked away, and then I've gone, well, me and the lads were going to go down there and we were going to put the bench out whether he liked it or not. And I was like, I'm going to put it there. And if the council rip it up, then fuck it. They rip it up. I'm just going to buy another one. And I'll keep buying them until they get fed up of ripping them up. And then when we went down there to do it, he was there with some of his mates, just been in the canoes and that. And I was like, oh, fucking great. And then so I had this another altercation with him. And like, he was being an arsehole for no reason, and the way he was coming across at me was rude. And I thought, a few years ago, I'd break your fucking jaw for this.
He's a brave lad, mate.
Yeah, and I was like, and I took a nice deep breath, that breathing mechanism, and I was like, I took a nice deep breath, and I was like, you know what, mate, you're just one of them dickheads in life, what just wants to be awkward. Like, I said, why wouldn't you want to do something nice for so many people? And he was like, nah, not on my watch, mate. And I was just like, do you know what, mate? I said, you're a dickhead. And I just thought, I'm wasting my time here.
Yeah.
I'll go down another avenue. And I got in touch with the council and that. And yeah, do you know what happens? People start closing doors on you. And I was getting doors closed on me. And people weren't really wanting to help because as far as they're concerned, Ricky meant nothing to them. But
statistic, bro.
Yeah, he's just...
Unfortunately.
Yeah, he's just... Because like 70% of suicides are middle-aged men. We have a chemical imbalance. Something happens to us. Like women go through a menopause. We hit middle age. Something happens to us. And I can't explain it. And no man can explain it. It's like our testosterone takes a dip and we have a bit of a meltdown. And then we start questioning because we're told to be... We're brought up as... You have a wife, you have kids.
Protector.
Yeah, you settle down, you protect your castle, your house, and you become the man of your house. But while you're doing all this, you lose all your friends. And then you lose your support network. And then you start to question, like, fuck, have I even got any mates anymore? And then, yeah, so that's pretty much how Primal Instincts started.
That's how it started, okay?
Pretty much
and the rest is history, I suppose, yeah?
Yeah, well, it started like Ricky was going through his shit, and he had a lot of childhood traumas as well. So when he went through his shit, he come to me because I looked out for him when he was in jail. I was in jail with him for about a year. And I really like helped him out when a lot of people turned their back on him. And then he sat down a few times and he spoke real deep about some personal stuff with me. And I was like, shit, look, I'm your mate, but you need to see a counsellor or something, man. So then when I got released, he was running around with the football lads still a little bit, and I weren't doing that anymore. It was pointless jail for me. Like, so I weren't interested in being a football hooligan anymore. I was dealing with my problems. I didn't want to hurt people anymore. I wanted to try and tame that inner beast of mine, and I was like, I wanted to get him under control. I didn't want to keep letting him out because the more I let him out, the more I got out of control. And just the one day, he just turned up at my house, and he was upset, and he was like, "Lee, I need help, man. I'm struggling." And then that was it. I just started spending more time with him. I got him come to the gym with me. I got him going out on hikes. And then he went out on a hike with a lad called Liam Rashley, and they jumped in a freezing cold river in the middle of March. And when they got out, they felt awesome. And that's literally how it started off. And then they were pecking my head saying, "Come down, Lee, come jump in the river with us, man. Every Saturday morning we're going to go to the river." And I was like, oh, I don't know about this, man. But I went down, I jumped in the river with them, and afterwards we were like laughing and joking, and you know, and then we went for some breakfast afterwards, and I was like, I felt great all day. And so I started looking into these cold water dips, like what it does for you, how good it is, releasing a chemical in your body called dopamine, which is equivalent to having a line of cocaine. It gives you that high, that much of a rush, burns brown fats, releases lactic acid off your muscles. Like, it just screamed loads of good stuff for you. I was like, yeah, man, I like that. So then we just started going down as mates, doing it. The more we did it, the more people were like, what are you lunatics doing? And it just gathered momentum. And then the one day I remember just walking down there, and it was like 60, 70 blokes down there. Ricky got it in the paper or something like that. And as I walked down there, I was like, all these lads. So then we started putting rules to it, like if someone comes down and you had conflict with in the past, you make it mad important to go over and shake their hand and give them a hug. I said, everyone who comes to the river, they have to shake hands and hug each other.
Regardless of what's going on.
No matter what's happened in the past, regardless to any situations, any beefs you've had before, or any family altercations, no matter what, everyone has to introduce themselves to each other. If you don't know who that is, or you do know who it is, just go over and put your hand out. So there was a lad there who I fell out with in the past. He come down, and I thought, well, he's come down the river for a reason. So I just walked straight up to him, and I've got a very troubled past, so I was like, just put my hand out, and I went, how are you, brother, you right? And he like looked shocked. We shook hands, we hugged, and I was like, look, whatever the reason you're here today is, it's probably a very similar reason to me, so let's just have a laugh, and let's just enjoy it. And we just kept on going and going and going, and yeah, it just got massive.
It did. It really did, mate. It really did. And obviously, like, it's nice that you've obviously mentioned Ricky, because, you know, I mean, originally when I was going to write, you know, this kind of podcast, I was going to mention that you were the founder of Primal Instincts, but I suppose that would be unfair on Ricky's legacy for a start, because, I mean, I'm putting you down as a co-founder. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm sure, am I right in saying that Chris Booth was alongside you guys, or was it just the original yourself and Ricky at first?
Yeah. So it was originally me and Ricky, and we brought Boovie in. And Boovie brought something different to me and Ricky. So me and Ricky, we were like very alpha males. We were very volatile. Where Boovie, he turned to God.
Okay.
And obviously, I had an altercation with him in the past. And we shook hands and whatever else. Yeah, and he brought something different. What I felt like, me and Ricky talked about it, and I was like, I want to bring Boovie to the table. So because he brings something different, and I was like, me and you are very more like, we're about Vikings, we're about die on your shield, and you know, Valhalla, and we were like mad on Vikings, and we're like brotherhood and all that kind of stuff. Where Boovie, he was like, preached about God.
Okay.
And people don't do that, especially with his background, being an drug addict, and you know, he got himself, he spent majority of his life in prison. Big scar down his face, bald head, you know, he's stacked, and now Boovie's Boovie.
Yeah.
You can't help but love the guy.
But he was to bring something different, so that's it's a good edge on things, you know.
So I wanted him to come to the table, and Ricky agreed with me, and yeah, man, he brought something different to the table and he preached about God. And as much as I always used to say, is like, he'd wrap a Bible up in a chicken wrap and he'd stuff it down your throat. But,
I love it.
Like, you couldn't help but love it still. And so we brought Boovie to the table, and it just started off with like a dream, because we met these lads through football violence. A lad called Denny, who started up a group in Wolverhampton called the Mandem Meetup.
Yes, I've seen them. Yeah,
so
they've done a few collabs with you guys, haven't they?
Oh yeah, I've got a hell of a lot of time for them guys. Them guys are great guys. And so they started coming to the river because Ricky was going to their talking circles, and he was sitting and talking with them about some personal stuff, and it was helping him. And so Boovie went along with him. So they both went up, did the talk circles. Well, I don't really want to talk about my shit in public. I'll talk one-to-one, but I'll never talk those talking circles when I hear someone else's problems and they're not, like, my problems are not as bad as theirs. Like, some guys have been sexually abused as a child and stuff.
Do you almost feel like, how can I say my story?
How can I even compare to some traumas they've had? Like, and you know, there's guys in the group where they've lost their wives, they've lost kids, and traumatic incidents, and it's just like, I take on other people's problems. I'm a protector, so if I go to a talking circle and I listen to that person's problems, I feel like I have to go out my way to try and protect this person and help this person as much as I possibly can. And sometimes I get hurt in that process. Do you know what I mean? And I run myself into the ground trying to help other people. And I left that to Boovie and Ricky.
Okay, so we've mentioned obviously about, you know, Primal, and I'm definitely going to go back onto that because that's obviously the whole reason. You know, aside from, I like to, when I'm getting someone that has like a related organisation, or I don't know, they're part of a music scene, I like to strip it back because like there's more to Lee Stevens than Primal Instincts. Although Primal Instincts, you live and breathe it, and if you cut your veins, Primal would bleed out.
Yeah.
There's more to you as a person, you know. There's things that have happened in your life we've got you to where you are now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So describe to me on a day when, you know, if you think back, not necessarily now, but if you think back the days when you were suffering worse with your mental health, what was an average day like for Lee? You know, was it a nice kind of a full sleep, going to bed early, getting up early, or was you up all night just partying? You know, what was a day like on an average when you were struggling?
I've never been a massive drug taker. I've never been a massive drinker. I went about 8 years without any drink. I wake up in the middle of the night sweating, anxieties through the roof. Just life beat me up. Life fucking beat me up, basically. And I did MMA to channel my emotions. Like, from a young age, I was going to the football ground, fighting at the football. That's just me channeling my aggression. Through that, I got arrested to do with football violence, and I thought, I like fighting that much. I need to do something about this. And I had a phone call about an MMA event going on in Telford, and I was like, yeah. So I went down, and they were like, oh, they got no one to fight someone. So I was like, I'll fight him. I'll fucking fight anyone.
Come on.
And then they were like, okay, you can fight him. Yeah, and just so happened, one of the guys, he was on Danny Dyer's Deadliest Men or something like that. One of the guys there, and they were like, do you know who he is? And I was like, I ain't got a clue. I said, no, I don't give a shit. I said, that man bleeds just like me, so I'm happy to fight him, and if he beats me, I'll shake his hand. If not, unlucky. It's going to be a painful lesson.
Tell me how that planned out, Lee.
Yeah, it lasted a minute. It lasted a minute and 30 seconds. It was my first fight in a cage, and I'd never really done hardly any training for it. I trained with a guy called John Jones, and he was a doorman and a martial artist back in the day, and I did a little bit of pad work with him, and he just tried to help me focus my aggression, because I was very aggressive. I was very angry, and I could just flip on a bit of flip a coin, and you don't know what kind of Lee you're getting. And yeah, I got in there and I was fired up, and I was bounced in, stamping my feet, screamed at him, come on. And then I just remember him looking over at me. He looked like he was up for it, but he didn't look like he wanted it as much as I wanted it. Yeah. And as soon as the buzzer went, I didn't rush in, I didn't run at him. I just sort of paced around a little bit, popping a jab, and yeah, we got into a bit of a scuffle up against the cage. I didn't really know what I was doing, but at the time I just grabbed hold of his head and I started kneeing him, and then we broke away from each other, and as he come lunging in, I just threw a big overhead right, and he just ate it. And he just fell flat on his arse. Yeah, and I pummelled him basically. And the ref at the time was Ian Freeman.
Okay.
He's one of the first guys in the UFC. He was a heavyweight champion, Cage Warriors champion, big meathead. And like, as the ref tried to pull me off him, my head was gone. I lost control, and I was like, still trying to hit him. And then when he let go of me, I jumped up over the cage and into the crowd, and I was like, fucking mental.
Do you know what? Is that on YouTube?
Yeah.
I swear I've checked that out, because I've seen a few of your fighting stuff. Well before I even knew of you, I'd seen you fighting stuff. Do you know what I mean? That's how I got first introduced to yourself, really. Like, and someone was like, local lad, this is Lee Stevens. And I was like, never heard of him. Because me and you have never crossed paths, you know. We might be similar in age. I mean, I'm coming up 38 now.
Yeah.
So,
I've just turned 40. So
come on, okay, so a couple of years difference. But yeah, we've, like, I guess it's because, like, you know, I was Donington, and that's kind of where I really set, really. And yeah, our paths haven't crossed, but I certainly knew of you with the fighting and stuff, you know. And I'm sure that one that you're talking about, I remember seeing that and being like, "Jeez, you're on the cage and that."
That's it. Yeah.
Come on,
going nuts. And then I joined a proper MMA gym called Spartan MMA. It was in Shrewsbury, but it was Telford guys what ran it, and I just started going down there with some Telford lads. Before I knew it, I was in an England team, going to World Championships, won a gold medal, I won a British title, fighting on another UFC fighters show called Ross Poynton. He's from Stoke. He was in a Stoke event in a big Victoria Hall. It was great, and I remember I think I sold about 200 tickets for that fight, and the place absolutely erupted. It was nuts. There was drinks, chairs, everything being thrown in there. Everyone was going absolutely wild, and I was just like, wow, oh my god, who the fuck are all these people here to see? And because they were going nuts, fucking I went nuts, and I was like, yeah, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
And not many of my fights went the full distance, but the ones what did, I lost on a decision. But yeah, a lot of them, like if I fight, I don't believe in taking the fight to the judges. I'll empty my gas tank in there. Yeah. And if I lose, I lose. But I want to give everything what people want to see. People want to see blood, gore, tears. They want to see the lot, don't they? They want to see someone get hurt.
Yeah.
So as much as I could wrestle and I could grapple, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give all my friends and family what they wanted to see. They want to see blood. They want to see someone get hurt. They want to see someone get knocked out. But what you got to do is you got to risk being knocked out to try and knock someone out. So you've got to get into a war with someone. I got to drag someone into like a street fight, basically.
Yeah.
And that's what.
Because you can be a bit more loose, can't you, with MMA? I mean, I've never really been interested in MMA, to be honest with you, bro. I love my boxing. Standard. Yeah. Love my boxing. Have you ever tried your hand with boxing? I'm guessing you've done an element of that.
Yeah, I did try my hand at boxing. I went down to a Donington boxing gym.
Hey, big up Donington boxing. Big up Tristan and Liam.
Best boxing gym in Telford.
Come on, they do some amazing things for these kids, bro.
Don't they just, man? They're unreal. Those kids down there are unreal.
I always say, like, because, like, you know, growing up in Donington, obviously I was around the Legion when Brian Davis was around and stuff, and man, aside from him, how proud he'd be for Liam, like, just the gym on a whole, how it's still existing, and it isn't just a distant memory, it's still active in the community.
Oh, massive.
He'd be mad proud for that, man. And Tristan's, you know, you could just take your hat off to him for that.
Oh, he's a great guy, Tristan. So I went to Madeley ABC. I did Telford ABC. It was in Madeley. I was going there, but it was at the time it was very like there was not many fighters there, and it was like big blokes just knocking lumps out of each other. At that point, now they've got a good stable of fighters, very good stables. I think they've got a girl what's just joined the England team, I think.
Yeah, I think they have.
And so now they've got a great stable. But at that time, they didn't have a very good stable, and I didn't know anything about boxing. I was just a scrapper.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I just like to get into a fight. And I went down to Donington boxing gym, and fucking hell, that was a boxing gym. They got Mac,
yeah.
Oh my god, that guy is unreal. And I remember doing a pad session with him, and I did some sparring afterwards with a couple of the lads, and I got the shit knocked out of me. and then I realised, I was like, there's more to boxing than it looks.
Yeah.
You think it's just stand there and you just hit each other. Nah, it's like a game of chess. It's there's an art to it, and Liam Davis is very, very, very good, and his brother.
Of course, yeah, can't forget Bradley as well, you know.
They're a pedigree of boxers in there. They come from a boxing family.
Bradley's predicted big things, man. You know, I think Bradley's going to go just as far as Liam. I genuinely do, you know.
I remember being down there, and there was another young lad called Macaulay
Owen.
And he was good as well.
Where's he gone now? Because he had a few of the early card fights of Liam's and stuff. I don't know if it was televised. I think they were like the early cards.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But he was very good. Macaulay was.
Yeah,
and very nice in his approach as well. He looked like a decent, humble lad. Like, do you know what I mean?
I see him in the gym when I go down on an evening.
Oh, okay. So
I see him down there, and he's
then.
cracking the pads, and I always make an effort to go over and say hello to him because he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
But I don't really know much about like what he's doing with his boxing. But it'd be great to see him fight again.
100%. Yeah.
The left-handers, aren't they?
Yes.
Them left-handers are so awkward.
Are they?
Yeah, man, they're dangerous.
They're the ones to watch.
Yeah, man, they're for an orthodox fighter, southpaw is very dangerous. Very dangerous, man.
I must say, I love the energy that, you know, Liam's hometown brings. You know what I mean? Like,
I went to one of the fights, and like I've never been like massive and jumping up on the chairs and be like, come on, and I've always like been quite reserved, and I would just watch and analyse the fights. But because it was like someone in our hometown,
special, mate.
It was like, it was big.
I've been to most of them now, and the vibe's just crazy.
Yes, and I I ended up having, I think I had my top off and I was like screaming, come on, Liam! And I got full into it like I did, and I really enjoyed it, man. It was good.
There's a signed Liam Davis glove there, mate.
Yeah, man.
Next to me Fury one. Look, I went and had that signed by him, so I need to get it updated at some point. But yeah, I just thought, local lad round the ends, we've got to rep him. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, he's done great things, and you know what? It's great for Donington to have a role model like him, 100%. Because growing up, we had so many prospect boxers to come through, like your Mark Lloyds, your James Boyds. These guys were like untouchable growing up.
Yeah,
they were like,
right.
They were like people. They'd be scared to be in their company. So these guys up and coming, they were great boxers, and it's good to have people as role models. Definitely. In our kind of community, in council state communities. It's good to have these kind of role models, because I find too many kids are growing up looking up to drug dealers and gangsters as role models. When I remember watching a film and the dad was screaming, saying the gangsters are not the tough men, it's the men want to get up working 9 to 5 every single fucking day. And when I think back now, at the time I thought, yeah, fuck off. I want a supercar.
But it's true though, isn't it?
I want nice clothes and that.
Yeah.
But truth be told,
it is true, man.
There's an occupational hazard with being a gangster. It's either dead or in jail.
I always
There's
think,
no ifs or buts.
Why would you want to go? I seen this meme and it was just something a little bit funny. It was like, how could I be a grown bloke and explain to my kids that we can't go into that area because dad's got beef with other people? Do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
That's crazy, isn't it?
So when I first met my wife, because I was so out of control, like if I wanted to go for a meal with her, I was worried about where we'd go for a meal because of who I'm going to bump into. Exactly. Because how much trouble I've started all my life with people. And I'd be like, and I also hated saying my name. If like we went somewhere, no one really, because I was always called Pretty Boy. So I had like an innocent looking face and I was always like styling my hair. But all my mates, they'd have shaved heads and stuff, you know what I mean? And so I was always called Pretty Boy. So when we go to places, people wouldn't really know who I was. But then when I said my name, I used to hate saying my name. And they'd be like, oh, didn't you hit so-and-so? Or didn't you do this? Or you did that? And I'd be like, I'd cringe at some of the stuff I've done.
Yeah.
And now it's a little bit embarrassing as well, because I've got a daughter what's 19. So I had to sit her down before she went to secondary school and try and explain to her about me going to prison and stuff, because they're fucking Googling each other's dads. And so the kids Google her dad and it comes up, drug enforcer for urban cartel. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, I don't want my daughter having to deal with any of my aftermath. Exactly that. Like, I've tried to put all the demons to bed and I've tried to make amends with every single person who I fell out with. And some people accepted it and some people didn't. And it is what it is. I always say it is what it is, because, I try not to let anything bother me. And to be fair, I don't care if they've got a problem with me. That's their problem. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll happily make you feel uncomfortable in your own house by like walking in and going, all right, buddy, how are you? And then they have to smile and
they
say...
They hate it more, don't they?
Yeah,
my wife always says that. She always says that. If she's got a problem with someone, she's like, I'll go and say hello to them. I'm like, why are you even giving them your time? And she's like, it makes them feel more uncomfortable if you go and be all right with them. Do you know what I mean?
So I enjoy being in the uncomfortable zone. Okay. I like to see how people deal with that. And like, I can talk quite calm and they're like, look, mate, if you do that again, then you're going to see a different side to me. And I don't want to be that guy. So I can talk quite calmly before it has to get to any kind of altercation. Yeah. But yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? But everyone falls out.
You said it again. You said it again.
You know how it is. Everyone falls out, and
yeah.
Telford's a small town. It is. And you always bump into each other,
and mud sticks as well sometimes, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it certainly does, doesn't it?
Yeah. They don't take a second to realise that there's actually growth in you now compared to back then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure many people that know you well know how far you've come, but there probably is still people out there that know the name because of him hitting this person 20 years ago and still think you're a dickhead, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that ain't the case.
I'd walk into a pub with all my mates, and when I say these lads, they were like my die-hard mates. The kids I grew up with. I grew up in Dorley. Strong in the arm, thick in the head. So we were like, that was the old motto for Dorley men. We were just like, proper men, the old school, make you go outside and have a one-on-one on the car park. But that era's sort of like died off.
It has, mate.
I think my era's the last dying era of it.
It's weapons now, bro.
It's disgusting, isn't it?
It's rough, mate. It's rough out there now.
Man. If you can't beat someone with your fist, then just shake their hand.
Yeah, there's just weapons everywhere. I don't know if you're the same, but the more I see, like, you know, for example, like having tea tonight. Don't know why I did it, but I stuck the news on. Boom! First thing I see on the news, you know, woman stabbed dead in on Valentine's Day in this pub, and then, you know, young lad getting stabbed to death on a bus in London, and it's just.
Man, I don't watch
fear
the news.
Do you not? No, I probably shouldn't, and I would say that to, like, in hindsight now, like most of any listeners that suffer with mental health in some way, stay away from the news, man, because they only want to show you what they want to tell you for a start, so you never know the full story, and it's doom and gloom, man. You have enough going on in your kind of life to not be worrying about other stuff, and I don't mean that is a bad way, but do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I find that I'm seeing a lot on TV and social medias is like there's always like grooming this, grooming that, and you know, Telford have had a bad history for it now, and I just, like, you can take the good and the bad. It's like, you know what I mean, it, like, a lot of Muslims are getting ridiculed for the grooming gangs, but also there's a lot of white sexual predators.
You're right, mate.
In our area as well. Do you know what I mean? And like, people forget that.
We take what we want to take, though, don't we?
Yeah, and it's just hit and miss with certain things, and I find it can get very diplomatic.
I totally agree with you, bro. I totally agree.
I just don't like to get involved in all, like, the news and stuff like that, because it just, I'm just gonna batter your head for a second, and I believe that they just want to divide and conquer us all. Like, we're like ants on the council estates. We're like ants. We're strung together, and this is what I say in Primal Instinct. Like, if I could stand there and I can preach about men's mental health and the suicide rates and what happens with men, I can stand there and preach. No one's going to listen to me if I'm standing on my own. But if I'm standing there with 200 men behind me, then they're going to listen. The only time they started taking Primal, people laughed at us when we was in the river. I remember it going up on social media. The Shropshire Star posted it on social media, and I could see people commenting on there, taking the piss out of us. But people stopped laughing when there was 100 men in the river. Yeah, and that's why. And I stood up on the council mental health. They had like this mental health day at the Telford football ground. I wasn't meant to stand up and speak. I was listening to all these professionals, and I thought, you lot haven't got a fucking clue. You haven't got a clue. So I asked him if I could stand up and speak, and I had my right hand man, AK Alan Kennedy. I had him with me, and he plugged the laptop in, and we took over the big screen. Come on! And I just grabbed the mic, and I just went for it, and I was like, "You make your services unapproachable for council estate people. You make it so hard for us to access your services. It's ridiculous." I said, and you stand up here and you try to say how well you are doing. You ain't helping anyone. I said, I'm going to a river at 6 o'clock in the morning. I had 100 men, 97 men turn up because they want to feel good. They've got problems. I said, so why aren't any of these men accessing your services? Because you're making it absolutely impossible for us to use your services.
It's all right, mate. I mean, like, one of the things that I get asked by authorities when supporting others with mental health is whether I've had the appropriate qualifications. Now, do you think that it's more important to have life experiences than a university qualification with no life experiences whatsoever?
Yeah, so
it is, isn't it? Come on.
We've been doing a few qualifications in-house. Me, Dean, Lloydie, and a few others. And I believe life experience is more important than anything. So you could be most qualified man in the world. Doesn't mean nothing if you haven't got life experiences. Go to university. You do you. If you think going to university and getting these qualifications is going to make you the best at your job, it's not always the case of it making you the best at your job. Sometimes life experiences are the best experiences, and there's no ifs or buts about that as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so let's just touch one more thing kind of on reflection. Now, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what do you think it would be?
Oh man, I just let my emotions take over. I never used to think, so I'd probably just tell him to step back and think about the people who are around you. Because at the time, like, everyone knew what I was like, but some people, they wanted the best for me, and they'd be like, Lee, come on here, let's go. I want to get you out of there. You're going to get into trouble here. And I'd be like, nah, fuck that. I'm staying. And then I'd want to face it head on. But I had a lot of people around me what were like yes men, and they were like, yeah, Lee, fuck it. Yeah, he's the boy around there. Go whack him, fuck him. And I'd be like, when I think back now, I wish I didn't listen to them people. Yeah. I wish I was a better person. And maybe if I had better role models around me, I would have been a better person. But in Telford, it was, back when I was growing up, it was about being a somebody.
Yeah.
And being a somebody normally meant with being violent and being like the tough guy of your area. Go to other areas and fight other tough guys of other areas. And I guess that's how gangs start in different areas.
It's a crazy mindset, isn't it, when you think about it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the only way you could really kind of make yourself as a tough guy, like, is by
you wanted
physically tough. Not...
Yeah, and if you wanted pretty girls to like you, it weren't about whether you was wearing the nice designer clothes or whether you were the pretty boy.
Yeah.
It was whether you were the tough guy in your group.
Yeah.
And girls were attracted to the bad boys.
Some women do. They do go to that,
they were attracted to the bad boys, weren't they?
And still that's the case now, with some women, they will actually gravitate to, to the bad boys.
Truth be told, that's probably why I ended up marrying my wife, because at the time, I got gold teeth, I'm tattooed up, and I was fighting in a cage, and I was very volatile. It's probably why she was attracted to me, because before me, I think she was into mixed race lads, like, you know what I mean? And I'm white, blonde hair, blue eyes, you know what I mean? I don't look nothing like a mixed race guy.
No.
But I've got that aura about me where I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You're human, so whoever you are, I'm down for it. Do you know what I mean? And that's the kind of mentality I used to have.
No, I get that. So now we've covered, like, touching on, your past, yourself, how you perceive kind of mental health in general, and you've shared a few of your personal experiences. So firstly, I want to thank you for that, bro. Now, let's cover one of the many reasons why, I got you in the hot seat, and obviously that is predominantly about Primal Instincts. So can you give my listeners who may not have even heard of Primal Instincts, because me and you were talking as if my listeners would have heard of Primal Instincts, and many of them would have in our surrounding areas and further, but for the listeners that haven't heard of Primal Instincts, just give them kind of a brief overview of what the organisation, would you class it as an organisation?
I class it as a brotherhood.
Okay, so what the brotherhood stands for?
So brotherhood is about us looking out for each other, supporting each other. Now, I've got a lot of guys in there what have never had a life like me. They've had a great life, but something has triggered where it's triggered depression or something like that. So, like, we're down for each other. And there's a few guys what bounce in and out the group, and there's a few guys what are primal through blood, like they'll bleed primals. But it's like we're a community. We're our own little community. We look out for each other. We support each other. And so, like, we're opening a hub this weekend. Primal Instincts hub, men's mental health hub.
Hey.
So this hub, it's very going to be very similar to like a youth club growing up. It's going to have its pool table. It's going to have its dartboards. It's going to have its leather sofa. It's going to be very similar to like a pub vibe, but without the alcohol and drugs. Because in this area, if lads go to a pub on a Friday,
it's hand in hand, innit?
They ain't coming home till Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's not because they've pulled a bird, it's because they stood in a kitchen talking shit all weekend. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want guys going to a pub and drowning their sorrows, because then that's a depression. You're going to feel depressed after you drink. I want this Primal Instinct hub so men can come. They can come and talk with no judgment, no animosity. You know what I mean? They can come, they can relax, we can shoot a game of pool, we can have a coffee, and we can have a chat. And then you're going to go home on the Friday night, and you're not going to be standing in your mate's kitchen till Sunday talking shit. off your nut.
Which a lot of them do, innit?
Back into your overdraft.
Don't seem to get out of that. No, from obviously Primal Instincts, you know, as you said, Ricky Briffa was a massive, massive part of Primal Instincts. Now, we obviously, you know, we can't go through this podcast without commending him and, you know, respecting and giving him a massive special mention. Now, for the benefit of my listeners who may not have heard of Ricky unfortunately passed away on the 4th of December 2023. I did check with Katie whether that was right, but yeah, apparently that's bang on the date.
Yeah.
What did Ricky mean to you and Primal, bro?
He was my best mate. Like this makes me a bit upset when we talk about it.
Of course.
Knocks me about a little bit.
Take your time, bro.
There wouldn't be Primal Instinct if it weren't for Ricky. There's no ifs or buts about that. He had massive energy. He'd light up the room. He'd come in, he'd make every single person laugh in the room. But also there was another side to him, like where could be quite aggressive and quite volatile. But truth be told, what people didn't realise is that he just wanted to be loved. And he was brought up with his auntie and uncle. He wasn't brought up with his mum and dad. He was brought up, he went into care at a young age. And he had very troubled past. I'm not going to talk about his life because he's not here. But he had a very troubled past. And I think that's what we related with a lot. And we got real close. We talked about some deep shit. And like I told you, we spent a year in jail together. So I looked out for him when no one else would. And everyone turned their back on him then.
Did you see him also, like, obviously it was a best mate, it was a brotherhood, but did you see him as a little brother? Is that kind of how you seen him?
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Nice. If he said, I've got your back, that means he would die.
Yeah.
He'd die by your side. Even if you was outnumbered, he'd die for you. And that's basically how he is. And Primal's meant everything to him. Absolutely everything. We had the Primal flag over his coffin and that, and all the lads whipped together to pay for his funeral, and it was fucking hard, man. I've never lost anyone close to me like that, and like still now I struggle. I went and sat up at his tree yesterday before I was coming here because I knew we were going to talk about it, so I wanted to go and sit and talk to him for a sec. But yeah, man, he left an autistic little boy behind. He's left a teenage boy behind. And what people don't realise is with suicide, like, he was struggling with work, struggling with where he lived. He reached out to his family life. I don't want to make a comment on it, but I was with him, and he weren't getting much support of his family at the time. But I don't know if that's because of how he made it. Like, I don't know how he made it with his family. I know Ricky for Ricky. And I know he was a warrior, like. So when he used to ring me every morning, I'd meet him at the gym. Every single day we used to speak. Even when we fell out and we argued, we still spoke every day. And I'd be like, you fucking bastard. Fuck you. And
yeah.
But we still spoke every single day. And yeah. When I didn't get that phone call in the morning, I never spoke to Sean, the girl who he's got an autistic kid with, and he was on and off relationship. And I was like, I knew something wasn't right. So I dropped her a message. I was like, have you heard of Ricky today? He was with Rash last night. I said, and Rash said he left the house. I said, I can't get hold of him. And then she was like, no. And I said, well, he's meant to be coming to see Tommy. And she went, he hasn't come. So I left it till dinner time. Then I started to worry. At that time, we had about 100 guys in Primal Instinct. And I sent his reg on to the group chat. And I was like, I can't find Ricky. This is unusual. And the conversations we had at the time were quite sad, upsetting. Like, and sorry, man.
No, it's all right. Take your time, bro.
Yeah, and there were like bad conversations. Like, if people would have listened in to stuff we were saying, like what he was telling me, he probably would have got signed into a nut house. And he left me, Sean, Boovie, and Tommy a letter, and Alison. But in my letter, it was like instructions, what he wanted me to do. But he used to say to me all the time, every single night, you know what to do, don't you, Lee? You know what to do. And I was like, yeah. I said, stop being stupid, man. I'll see you in the gym in the morning. This one time, he didn't come to the gym. The lads were all out looking for him. I kept telling myself, he's fell off the wagon. He's gone and got a load of sniff and drink. He's probably with some bird. He's probably doing something stupid in a brothel or something. You know, he's probably doing something mad. And we found his car on Aldi car park at like 10 o'clock at night. And I knew then it weren't okay. I kept telling myself it's going to be okay. I knew then it wasn't, because he used to like going around the back of there, and there's like a bench at the top of the hill what overlooked your side of Telford,
okay.
Donington, Trench and all that
Okay.
side, and that's where Ricky was from, that side of Telford. So it overlooked that side of Telford, and he could see his nan's house from there. So he used to sit there and he'd always be writing stuff down, because I got him into journaling, and he used to write stuff down. So I went to that bench thinking, I'm going to find him. And we didn't find him, and we searched all through the woods, and I got to this path, and I was with Ben, and I think Carl was with me, so 2 Primal lads, and I went, I can't walk down that path. I said, I don't know what it is. I said, something's telling me I can't walk down that path. I said, I'm going back towards Aldi. They come back with me. We jumped in the cars, and I went to another spot where he liked to go. Some of the lads stayed at Aldi, and they went down that path. And Carl found him. One of the Primals found him. And it's like, when you think of someone who's took their own life, you look up. But he was sat like, he was like, he did it dead calmly. He just sat down. Like, the tree was at like chest height. Like, when I was there, when I got to it, I was just like, I couldn't get my head around it. Like, he just did it so peaceful. There was no marks where he's like struggled or anything like that. Prior to this, like, I had a mate called Gary Round. He took his own life when I was in jail. When I got out of jail, I was scaffolding, a lad who I was scaffolding with, Az Thompson. I was with him the day before, and he took his own life. So it was already like taking its toll on me. Yeah. It was already like, I already had experience with it, but this was really close to home. This was one of my best mates. This was someone, like, I rang this guy at 2 o'clock in the morning, and he come to help me.
Regardless.
Regardless. It wasn't because I was in trouble or anything. It was because I needed someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And he come. And I'll never forget that. And not many people would do that for you. No. But in Primal Instinct, they fucking will. One of the guys got upset. He fell off the wagon, the alcohol, got himself drunk, got himself into a state. He rang Lloydie, and Lloydie, don't ask me why, 2 o'clock in the morning, he's walking up and down the Wrekin. He was training for the 24 and 24 challenge he was doing. And then he rang me, woke me up, and we got there just in time. As he was hanging, we cut him down, and we got there just in time to save him. And I look at him now, and he's thriving. He's running his own business. And I look at him now, and I think, to the point where I nearly had to give you mouth to mouth. I was like, to the point where you are now, it's just unbelievable. Yeah. And this is just because of the support around him. This is the support network. This is men understanding each other. Like, we won't talk to our wives about certain things. Like, I love my wife, but there's some things I won't talk about. But where with another man, he will understand. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to explain that to a female, because men produce testosterone, women produce estrogen. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain that with a female.
Yeah, it's a clash, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's quite sad how no one gives a fuck about men's mental health.
Yeah, I know. This is it. And I know, like, I try to advocate the best I can, but, like, I know I wouldn't make a massive difference in this world for men's mental health, but having 2 or 3 people in like the how many years I've been doing this now reach out to me and go, do you know what, from listening to what you've said or from a lyric that you've done, it made me go and get help, and now I'm doing good.
Yeah, man.
To me, that's worth it. And it has to be one person. To me, that's job done. Do you know what I mean? Because that's one person that hasn't took the plunge and, do you know what I mean, passed on and stuff. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Now, when someone passes who had such an impact on you and so many others around you, how do you find the strength to continue what you set out to do, Lee?
Do you know what, mate? I've been hurt recently running Primal Instinct. Like, so Boovie left, and he set up his own group, and they took some of my top table, what was helping me with it, to do this other group. And I thought to myself, like, what would Ricky do? And that was quite dangerous for me to think, what would Ricky do? Because I know what Ricky would do. He'd go to fucking war. So I was like, and I have to be a better man. I want to lead by example. And this is sort of why me and Boovie went our separate ways. Because if I'm going to tell people not to take drugs, then I'm not going to take drugs myself. That even smoke weed, do you know what I mean? If I'm going to tell people not to drink, like I went to the World Cup with one of the lads in Primals. He was a bad alcoholic, but he was a very volatile man, very dangerous man, ex-professional boxer. And I said, I'm going to go to the World Cup with you. So part of that, me being with him, I made sure I'm not going to have an alcoholic beverage while I'm with him, because I don't want him to be in that situation where he sees me drinking and I can make him relapse. Do you know what I mean? So I'm about, if I'm going to be a leader, I lead by example. Do you know what I mean? And if I'm going to stand at the top and I'm going to preach, then I'm going to live by the sword and die by the sword.
I get that.
So I'm going to preach. And me and Boovie had a disagreement on it. And it is what it is. At the time, he wanted to smoke weed, but he wants to run a drug course. Yeah, and I understand he doesn't take Class A's, but I still see it as, if you're smoking weed, you're still taking drugs. Like, it might not be. It might be grown on the earth and whatever else excuses. I don't care. If you want to be at the top table and you want to lead by example and you want to stand there and preach to other men not to take drugs, then don't fucking take drugs. If you want to preach to other men about being an alcoholic and to stop drinking, like my mate runs AA courses now. He runs the AA on a Wednesday at Oaken Gates.
Wicked.
So I'm like, listen to him.
Yeah.
He was an alcoholic. He nearly
if anyone knows, he knows.
He drank himself into an early grave. Like, and he lost his whole family. He lost his daughters. He lost his wife, and he lost his business. Now, 2 years on, his business is absolutely thriving. He's doing great. He's back with his wife. Him and his wife's managed to sort things out. His kids are back in his life. And when I look at him as just such like a role model.
Yeah.
And I just, I'm live by the sword, die by the sword. And if you want to preach to people about stuff, then you've got to live by it.
Yeah, 100%.
As far as I'm concerned. And that's why me and Boovie had to go our separate ways.
Yeah.
But he's running a men's mental health group. And a lot of the lads what are with him, they're very church people. I'm not. I don't believe in God as such. I believe in the universe. You put out good energy will come back. If you be positive will come back. But if you want to be a dickhead and be negative all the time, you're going to attract dickheads and you're going to attract negative energy. So I'm very much like that. So, and I always say to the lads in Primals, if God is what helps you, then I'm all for it. If Allah is what helps you, if Buddhist is what helps you, if being a Viking is what helps you, like, because I've got Muslims, I've got Sikhs, I've got all these different kind of guys in Primal Instinct, and I'm all for whatever makes you the best version of you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm happy to try anything once, twice if I like it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm happy to try meditation, I'm happy to go to a mosque, I'm happy to go to a Sikh temple, I'm happy to do these things with Primals. With lads in the Primals, because I have a lot of respect for these men, because exactly. I say to them in Primal Instinct, you're extraordinary men. And people don't understand it when I say you're extraordinary men, because when you've got to a point in your life where you don't want to be here anymore and you've got through that, you wanted to die, and you wanted to leave all your loved ones and leave everything behind because you think they're better off without you, but you've managed to get through it, and you managed to turn your life around and become a better man, and you go on to running your own business and you're thriving, and you have an aura about you then, you have a glow, and that's when I say you're extraordinary men, because you've been through darkness.
Yeah.
And people don't understand about the darkness. Before Ricky took his own life, I remember him he used to go to like waterfalls in the middle of the night, and he used to just scream at the top of his voice, and that's where the primal scream come from. And he used to scream, and I remember him telling me about an incident he had, and it fucking knocked me about bad. And he said he was getting undressed to get in the river, and he said something was telling him not to get in the river, and he said he could just see this like, he said it was like a dark shadow. He said it put the fear into him, like when he was a kid, when he was like some bad stuff happened to him as a kid. So when he said he had never felt that scared as what he did when he was a kid, and he said he ran, left his clothes, ran from the river, ran to his car, got to his car. He was that scared. He was ringing me, crying, shouting on the phone. This is like 4:00 in the morning.
Jeez.
And then like I've gone and met him, and I'm like, what's going on? And he was telling me about this story about he was going to get in the river, but someone was telling him not to. It was dangerous, and then he said he felt like there was this like dark shadow there just staring at him. He believes, before it happened, he believed it was death following him. That was his actual words to me. And when he said it to me, normally you think, fucking hell, he needs a nut house here.
Yeah.
But like, I understood, because once I felt like I had that shadow following me, and when he was telling me, man, it was getting me deep.
Yeah.
So I just hugged him, like, and I was like, mate, we're gonna get through this. But every time I felt like he was making a step progress, he'd relapse. And I was like, it's hard when it's someone so close to you.
Part of you, innit?
Yeah, and like the signs were there. The signs were there 100%.
What do you think that we could all learn from Ricky's passing, Lee?
Take time to talk to them people.
100%. Yeah.
You know that guy who's the loudest in the room? What's laughing the loudest? What's joking the loudest? Give him a hug. It's not the quietest one in the room. It's always the loudest. Same as Gary Round. He was always like the life and soul of a party. It's the same as Thompson. He was always laughing, joking. He was the life and soul of a party. When we was having banter at the yard, he was always in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so it's always the guy what's having fun and always smiling. But that might just be a mask.
Yeah.
Just because he's smiling on a picture doesn't mean he's dying on the inside.
Nah, that's right, yeah.
And that's the most sad thing. You see a guy who's standing there, what looks like a miserable bastard. And I'll go, what's the matter with you, mate? And he'll go, oh, this is just my face. I'm smiling on the inside. Do you know what I mean?
It's just it's just who they are, innit?
Yeah, okay, sound.
Yeah.
But the guy who's smiling could be dying on the inside.
Yeah, 100%. I got a different... I mean, you know, we're gonna move away from this more kind of, you know, the close subjects to yourself, because, you know, I appreciate that it's quite hard for you. Do you know what I mean? This doesn't come easy talking about this, and I do appreciate that, bro. So thank you for expressing it. Like, with regards to like taking your own life and stuff, like a long time ago, I would always have the aspect of that's selfish. Like, you're leaving kids behind, you're leaving family behind, but I've now come to learn from the reasons to why people do it, that when they're in that, from speaking to people who have been in that mindset and been that close to doing it, they genuinely think that they're doing the world a favour, because the world, like, their kids would be better off without them. Their mum and dad they don't actually think of these ripples, do they? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, 100%. So there's a guy who's quite influential in Telford, should I say, and I remember seeing him put something on Twitter, and he put something on when Az passed. He put something on there like, oh, it was a selfish act, it was a selfish move, he's left his wife and kids behind. And for me, that was like, you fucking arsehole. You absolute arsehole. You haven't got a clue about that darkness. And that made me realise that everyone's entitled to an opinion, and an opinion is like an arsehole. Everyone's got one. and some stink. Do you know what I mean? And when I seen him put this on there, I thought, like, you haven't had it easy, so why haven't you seen dark yet? Why are you saying it's selfish when I know you haven't had it easy yourself? And it fucking pissed me off. It did.
I was that person though years ago, but that was just lack of understanding. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I didn't understand when I was younger. I was like, the fuck's the matter with him? What's he got to be depressed about?
Yeah.
Like, you could have everything. You could have the big houses. You can have the pool in your garden. You can have the fucking villas in Marbella. That don't stop you from depression coming to get you.
No, that's right.
100%. And that's the sad thing, that, like, I find some of my most happiest times was when I was sleeping on an airbed in a living room. And I remember, at the time she was my girlfriend, but she's my wife now. We couldn't even get money together to get a pack of biscuits. But that was some of our happiest times. And I think now, like my wife's business is booming. She's doing really well. My job's okay. I'm doing good. I run Men's Mental Health. I'm also running the MMA experience with my mate. So, yeah. And everyone looked from the outside in. Now, we've got everything good. But we're struggling. We struggle every day.
It's not a walk in the park, is it? None of that, like, you know. Like, even with, like, I mean, obviously, you know, I hope your wife doesn't mind me mentioning this, but even with her business, you know, there's going to be overheads. It's not going to be as simple as just having your own business and raking in the money in. Do you know what I mean? There's a bag of stress that comes with that.
Oh, and the just, man. And people don't realise that.
They don't, bro. You're
like,
right.
They say you've got a range. Yeah, it's on finance, mate. You know what I mean? That's another monthly bill.
Yeah.
Just. And I drive around in a battered old van, and I'm happy with that battered old van because it's not on finance. This is me.
Yeah.
This is what I can afford.
Yeah.
And so people see, like, my wife's got a business, we've got a nice house, but we have been grinding for the last 10, 15 years, our bollocks off, and it ain't easy, man. Our relationship, our marriage, it's put a lot of pressure on it, and it's took its toll, and at times I felt like we've grown apart a little bit and we have to pull it back together, and it's difficult, man. It makes relationships is the hardest thing I've ever had to do,
and that's why it's important to, like, take time for yourself as well, innit? Like, you know, like for me anyway, like, well, me and my wife, you know, we're mom and dad 365 days of the year. You can't call in sick to mom and dad, you know what I mean? Like, we are there all the time. So because obviously we're foster carers as well, that's kind of what we do as a job, you know, and so as well as being mom and dad to our children, we're also foster carers and advocates for many other children across the region. Do you know what I mean? So our job doesn't stop, bro. And like date nights, I look at couples and I'm like, off on a date night, are you? Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't get the time to do this stuff.
Yeah, man.
So little things like spending a few hours watching a film or something.
I totally relate. So my wife, she hasn't got a mum or dad or any siblings close. She's got an auntie what lives in Stafford, what goes above and beyond for us, but we never really like to ask. I haven't got a mum and dad in my life. I haven't really got any uncles and aunties around me. I've got 5 cousins, and they're all males. The rest of the family sort of disowned me when I went to prison as well, and they slagged me off a lot, which is understandable. Everyone's, like I say, everyone's got an opinion. They didn't know the situation or circumstances at the time. And so we don't get date nights. Our date nights are curry and lying in bed at 9 o'clock watching a film, falling asleep. That's our date night. Like, and it's sad because our lives have been that busy, like these last 10 years, because we're trying to be better and we're trying to give our kids everything we've never had. And we're trying to, like, have that dream, and we've put that much pressure on our relationship. People don't realise, like, it gets hard sometimes, and
man.
We bicker over something stupid, and then you think, oh, for fuck's sake, gotta have this fucking argument again. But it's because we're spending so much time apart from each other. We start growing distant, and we start not understanding each other so much. So I think it's massively important that you try and make time.
It is, man. Even just something, like, little.
Yeah. So just recently, like, for my birthday, my wife took me to the Maldives for my birthday.
I did see, bro. I did see.
Like, and people think, oh, they must be loaded to that. For the last 3 years, she's been paying for that for the last 3 years to try and put a smile on my face on my birthday.
That's super special, bro.
Yeah, so I'm like, I feel very lucky And I feel very appreciated and very grateful to be in a situation like I class us as like a power couple. So we support each other in everything. She supported me in my fighting, I supported her in her business, and yeah, we've got 3 girls. She was even raising my daughter, not her daughter. She was raising my daughter from another person. So she's an extraordinary woman, and I do think if I didn't have her in my life, I'd either be dead or in jail. And it was not saying that someone would have killed me. I probably would have killed myself.
Yeah, well, they do say, you know, behind every good man is an even better woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, I genuinely think that. Like, my wife will, I mean, for a start, she's my walking, talking diary. Do you know what I mean? So when I've got the bookings and that, I'm like, say I get a booking for the 4th of April. I don't know what the 4th of April is, but say I get a booking for the 4th of April. I'm like, Beck, have I got anything going on the 4th of April? We've got the meal with so-and-so, haven't we? Oh, shit, yeah. Do you know what I mean? So if she wasn't in the equation, I'd be double booking myself. Because
I'm exactly the same.
As a music artist, there's nothing more embarrassing than going, yeah, I'll do that rave. Then they put you on the flyer for performing. Then you've got to do that phone call and go, sorry, mate, I've got something else. I've double booked myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is like that, mate. And same with, like, because I've got epilepsy. I've got rheumatoid arthritis. I've got osteoarthritis. I've got ADHD. So I have to take a lot of meds every day, man, just to stop the pain. Do you know what I mean? Just so I can live.
You're like a chemist,
bro. It's mad. Just so I can live a fairly normal life. Then I have to have liver functioning tests every couple of weeks to test my liver, because the methotrexate of the rheumatoid arthritis is damaging my liver slowly and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's a madness, mate. But they're the things that I have to take, because when I wasn't on the medication, I've got a walking stick in the house which I have to use. Like, it gets that badly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's been times when my wife's had to put my socks and my boxers on, bro. That's how bad it is. And it's what's the word? Deliberating. Yeah, it's deliberating. So for 37-year-old bloke to have your wife have to do that, I'm like, you're my wife, not my carer. Like, come on. Do you know what I mean?
Nah,
so
that's tough.
But
man.
she won't. Have you took your meds today?
Yeah.
You haven't took your meds. You need to take your meds. I'll be all right, Beck. I've missed the first. No. You take your meds now. Do you know what I mean? So like, what I'm saying to you is, they keep us in check, bro. I don't care what anyone says.
100%.
If you've got a good one, they keep you in check.
I can remember when I first got out of jail, and I was falling back a little bit. Like, violence has always been in my life. So when I was going to the counselling, I just wanted that bit of violence in my life again. I wasn't fighting in the cage. I wasn't really going down to the gym sparring or anything, and I wanted that violence in my life again. So I remember I went to meet up with the Wolves lads to go to this meet, and it was a serious meet, and Ricky was with me, and my wife rang me. She went, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, it's all right, baby. It's organised." And she was like, "I'm phoning the police. I'm literally, if you don't get home in the next 20 minutes, I'm phoning the police." Now I had to turn around to all these naughty lads, and I looked at them and I was like, "Lads, I've got to go, man." And they were like, "Nah, Lee, stay, man. We need you." And I was like, "Nah, man, my wife needs me more." And they were like, "What? Come on, man. This has been organised. Fucking, it's going off." And I was like, "My wife's phoning the police, man. My wife's phoning the police on me." I said, "If I don't get home," I said, "nothing's worth that, man." No. And I literally, where we was, I just jumped in a taxi, took a 40-minute taxi all the way back to my wife, and I just apologised, man. I just thought, you're right.
Yeah, and you don't, at the time, you're like, oh, flipping hell, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I feel like that for, we're just about to go and do it.
Yeah, I wanted to be with the boys again.
Of course you do.
And I wanted to get that adrenaline, because I don't take drugs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't get a rush off drugs. My rush is like jumping out of planes, bungee jumps. You know, I like to do adventurous shit, because that's how I get my kicks in life.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, man. So I think if I didn't have my wife in my life, I definitely would be back in jail, or I'd be dead. And she chose to have a family with me, and like, I was a good dad anyway, but I was only a weekend dad. And then, like, we had kids together, and I just dote on my kids. I just want to be the best that I possibly can be. And I want to try and show them how, like, I try to be the best husband I can be, because I'm raising 3 daughters. So I want them to grow up and think, I want a boyfriend, what's like my dad,
this is it.
What's nice to me.
I agree with that, man. Like, yeah, I mean, I was around a lot of violence growing up. You know, my dad used to knock my mum around. He put us through the stories I could tell you off air are just mental, like some proper like emotional torture. It's not like, I mean, he left on Christmas Day when I was 3, but it wasn't like he left, walked away and never looked back. He left and then put us through years of torture. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Walking straight in the door like he owned the place even though he was long gone. And, you know what I mean? He did a lot of nasty stuff and played us through.
That,
and now I've kind of grown up now to be like, you know, I want because I'm raising 2 girls, you know, one's 16, one's 12 now, and like, yeah, I don't want them to ever think that violence is a normal part of a relationship.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Because then that means they'll accept it off their future husband or boyfriend or partner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly that. And that's one thing me and my wife spoke about before we had kids. And it was like when I first got with her, it was volatile. Like the car would have got smashed up. A guy would have looked at her in a certain way, and it was going off. And I wasn't a great boyfriend to her. So when I went to jail, why the fuck's Younger waited for me? I'll never know. Because I remember I told her to leave. I was like, I'm getting double figures here. Please don't come to visit me again. Just leave me to rot here. And if you're single when I get back out, I'll get in touch and maybe we can hook back up. I said, but go and live your life. She went and lived her life, but she still stayed faithful to me and loyal to me and would come visit me every other week. Do you know what I mean? And pretty much nearly every week.
That speaks volumes, man.
Yeah, and she wouldn't have anyone say a bad word about me. She always looked out for me, and I never had that before.
Yeah.
I never settled down and I never had a proper girlfriend. I just bounced like a bouncy ball, bouncing from different women and that.
Yeah.
Jack the lad.
I do agree with what you're saying, bro. I really do. So let's pull it back to Primal Instincts for obviously the listeners that are, you know, intrigued about kind of what you guys offer. Now, so how beneficial do you think Primal Instincts has been for the many men that have accessed your service?
Massive.
Yeah.
I've had grown men come up and start crying and hug me.
Serious?
Fucking grown men, 50 years old, come up to me, hugged me and cried, said, thank you for setting this up. And I'm like, you don't need to say thank you, mate.
Wow.
You've already made your first step by stepping out your comfort zone and coming to one of the events.
Yeah.
So our events, we go up the Wrekin. We've got the Wrekin Challenge and Share. And that's 5 o'clock on a Tuesday and Friday morning. We do go up on a Saturday, but Saturdays are cold water dip days. So we have the cold water dip every Saturday, and that's down at the river. We did go to the Simpsons pool, but they started giving us antisocial behaviour orders. Do you know what I mean? We got nowhere else to go. When the river's not safe, you know, it overflows. It bursts its banks in Telford. It's an absolute nightmare. So we got nowhere to go, really, to do our cold water dips. And there's a lake called the Simpsons in Orsay. And when we went there, we do something called the Viking clap, the primal scream. So I'll explain that to you because people probably haven't got a clue.
I have got a question for that, bro. So that's coming.
Yeah. So basically, we do this clap. It's like the Icelandic clap, and it's to build up all the emotions. And they say when you strike the water, you're releasing negative energy. So I get everyone building up their emotions to a drum. Doof, doof. And everyone's like, oh, and they're clapping their hands together, and then we get faster and we're faster, and it's like your heart really starts to pump fast then, and then when the person who's like doing the main clap at the front, when he's like he lets out a primal scream, everyone just starts smashing the wall and they're letting all that negative energy and letting all that aggression out.
Do you know what I find fascinating, bro? Like, each one of them people that's letting off that negative energy, they're all doing it for different reasons. Each one of them has a story. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, everyone has a different story.
That's amazing.
And I always do like a health and safety speech before we get in there to tell everyone, look, be careful. There is a current. I have got safety lines, and I have to abide by our insurances, should I say? And so I do a bit of a speech beforehand, and I have to explain to people. Like, some people think it's nuts when I say to them, like, you person next to you might be upset. They might start crying because they're letting off these emotions they haven't let off before. If you see someone who looks upset or looks a bit troubled, put your arm around them and give them a hug and embrace them as your brother, because when you're in Primal Instinct, we are fucking brothers. We look out for each other. We talk to each other about stuff that you wouldn't talk to anyone else about. Do you know what I mean? So I've told some of them guys in there some deep, dark stuff, and they've told me deep, dark stuff. So now we're bonded. We're bonded. There's no ifs or buts. We're connected together. And so when you come connected together, there becomes loyalty, community, a brotherhood, and that's when we start looking out for each other. And like I always say, if something happens and you need some men there so you feel protected, I'll come down there with fucking 50, 40 lads now, and we'll do a Viking clap outside your house, so you know, look, we're here for you. We're here. We're here if you need us. And it's the same with each other. You got a tough day coming up at work. Ring me. Talk to me, man. Don't let that build up inside you to the point where you're giving yourself anxiety and it could trigger something else. Talk to us, man. We've got your back, because we build up these emotions. We go on hikes up Snowdon. We went to Ben Nevis. Hired like a 50-seater coach.
As if.
And took like 50 lads
Mad.
to Ben Nevis. Do you know what I mean? And so we do these events. We've done go-karting, paintballing, and we've got some events coming up this year. And we look out for it. As much as we have a laugh and a joke, and we take fun, we take the mick out of each other, and we have fun with each other and stuff. But there also is like a deep,
it's all part of the process, though, isn't it? Like, I get that. I mean, there's a lot of mental health organisations out there. You know, I'd be a fool to think that Primal Instincts is the only one. Do you know what I mean? Yes, okay, you were repping hard in Telford and Salop, do you know what I mean, Shropshire, and that repping hard Midlands base. But how do you think Primal Instincts differs from many other organisations?
There's a saying what Ricky used to have: if it's raw, it's real.
Perfect.
I won't tiptoe around it. I'll jump straight on the glass and smash the glass, and I'll say it as it is. And there was a guy not long ago come to the group, and he was staying up all night, gaming, being loud, not having no respect for his auntie in his house who's took him in. And then he wondered why his auntie chucked him out. And I was like, it's because you're a dickhead. It's because you're a dickhead and you've got no respect for it. And everyone, I could see like the group went quiet, and I was like, I'll just say it as it is, mate. I was like, you're leaving dirty. I've said I've gone and spoke to your auntie. You're leaving dirty cutlery around. You're up all night shouting and stuff when she's working 2 jobs to keep the roof over your head. I said, you can't even be asked to go and get a fucking job and help her to support her.
And this is probably exactly what he needed. Although he was like, oh, okay, no, I'm not a dickhead.
And he
probably
was like,
other people would give 24 excuses to what he's doing, whereas you've just said it straight. Do you know what I mean? You're acting up, and this ain't right.
And like, he was like, I need help with somewhere to live. Is there someone in the group can help me? And like, lads paid for his hotel, and I was absolutely screwing about it. And I was like, he needs to learn the hard way. I was like, we've just paid for an hotel for him so he can go and put his feet up and relax for the next 3 days. Fuck off. You've been an arsehole to your auntie. You need to go back there and start grovelling, apologise, and realise that you're a selfish bastard.
100%. Now, you've mentioned it previously, but how I first come to learn about Primal Instincts was the very well locally known Viking clap. Now, this was something I'd never seen before, and to see a large number of men united by mental health, each one with a story, like I said, it blew me away, Lee. Now, I remember Ricky used to regularly lead this. What was the Viking clap? Tell me a bit about that. Where's it come from? Where did you? So,
Ricky was mad on his football violence, wasn't he?
Wolves, wasn't he? Was he Wolves?
Yeah, he's Wolves.
Of course he was. Yeah,
and then so it was just like bringing a bit of him to the table.
Okay.
And like, I used to be like, pack it in, man, stop being an idiot, let's just get in the river, let's just have a laugh and a joke. So I just like having a banter. I like being around the men and having a laugh. I think laughter is the best recipe for a lot of things, and just having a laugh and being around men in men company, talking men shit, and not being worried about whether you're swearing or anyone's criticising you or being judgmental. We're just being men. And he was like, nah, I want to bring something else to the table, Lee. And I was like, okay. He was like, look at this. And he sent me the Iceland clap, and I could see where he was going with this. And he was like, and we're gonna finish it off with a fucking scream. We're all gonna and let out them emotions. And I laughed, and I was like, because when we were younger, we used to go to like meets where we'd fight other people, we used to do this thing where we go, like, you know, like Spartans, where we'd like be like, come on, and we start screaming, and then we'd run at each other and we'd start fighting and whatnot. He was bringing it to a men's mental health group, and I was just like, okay. So when we did the first one, it was absolutely fucking nuts. It was nuts. There was probably 70 men in the river. When before we were all laughing and joking and stuff, and we go for breakfast afterwards. But this time he brought down this drum, and we used to have a stereo in the background playing a bit of Oasis music in the background music. But then he brought down this drum, turned the music off, and he was like, doof doof, and everyone looked around, and he was like, yeah, that's right, everyone. We're gonna do the ice and clap. So, and I remember Denny and Jamie got the drums, and they did the drums, and Rick stood at the front, and he was like, everyone just copy me. So we were all like, okay, and he did it, and we were like, oh, like that. And I was like, just the energy, what come from it,
build up and that, like,
it was fucking nuts,
mad.
And like at the time, I laughed at him, and I was like, you're fucking crazy, but the energy we got from it. Like, people took the piss out of us.
Of course they did.
On social media. You know, if it's something what's not normal, then let's take the mick out of it and ridicule it. How about you step out your comfort zone and do it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of
because I hope to God that you guys down the line don't need what.
I hope you don't need Primal Instinct down the line. Do you know what I mean? You can take the piss out of us. I hope you don't need us down the line. Because, as far as I'm concerned, the police are worried about Primal Instinct. The council are worried. We look like militia. Everyone's worried about Primal Instinct, but with us, I say a strong body is a strong mind. So I encourage people to exercise. I encourage people to go to the gym. I encourage people to release them good endorphins. So when I've got 50 men going up the Wrekin at 6 o'clock in the morning twice a week at 5 o'clock in the morning, and people are going up to walk and talk on a Sunday morning, there's 50 lads going there, and there's 100 men jumping in the river. Like, local gangbangers are worried about us. Local, like, drug dealers are worried about us. Local football firms are worried about us because we're bigger than them. Do you know what I mean? The council are like, you're all big, strong men, and, you know, you're covered in tattoos, and you've got gold teeth, and, you know, you look like militia. And I just start laughing. I was like, and I've got Dean Anslow stood next to me, who's got his head covered in tattoos, big beard, he looks like a Viking, and he's big strapping bloke. And like I say, this mental health can affect anyone. I said, you look at him with the tattoos on his head, he looks like a big strapping man. I said, but that's a persona. I said, he looks like that because he wants to keep people away from him. He doesn't want to get involved with people. I said, and then you've got someone here who's a solicitor, cleanly shaven, slick back hair, no tattoos, absolutely turns up in a beautiful car, designer clothes, got the total, but they're both in the river, stood next to each other, doing this fucking Viking clap. When else would you ever get these two people together? You wouldn't. So we got doctors coming down, we've got all walks of life, we've got contracts managers, we've got construction workers, we've got office workers, salesmen, we've got all these different people, ex-pro boxers, pro footballers, you name it, we have it down there. And we all come together because there is something what's not quite okay. And we want to feel good. So we want that feel good feeling. We want to get the good endorphins flowing. We want to get that energy blowing. We want to feel the energy. I want to feel the love. That's why I say it's important that we all shake hands and we hug each other.
And do you find that, like, each other? Yeah, of course. Do you find that sometimes men will use your service and then may drop out if they feel they don't need it, and then pick it up when they do? Or you know what I mean? There's not an expect, just for the listeners that might be interested in, like, you know, having a look at all about this, there's not an expectation in once you're in, and if you're out, if you drop out, then you can't, the door's closed. It's
been difficult trying to like manage it, sort of, because like when Ricky passed away, we all went and had a tattoo, the Primal badge.
Nice.
Them people who have got the Primal badge, I say they're diehards. They're diehard primals. So they'll come to the cold water dips, they come to the waterfall, they come to the hikes. Them guys are diehard guys,
regardless to whether they need it right now.
I have guys coming from, I have like 3 guys coming from Milton Keynes, I have guys coming from Shrewsbury, Stoke-on-Trent, one Wolverhampton, Birmingham. I have guys coming from all over, so they're not all Telford based, but these guys they needed it in their life at that time. And I do have guys what dip in and dip out, and it's horrible as it I say it, but some of these men are selfish.
Why'd you say that, bro?
So they dip in, they take what they want from the group, and then they go. So what I ask from people is, if you're in the group, and say me personally, if I've helped you, now I want you to take that knowledge,
pass it on,
and pass it on to someone else.
Yeah, man.
Help someone else in the group who's new to the group. You was new once when you come to the group, and I embraced you with a hug, and I told you you're my brother and I'm here for you. So why wouldn't you do that for someone else who's new to the group, who's scared?
Good point. That's a good point.
Because you imagine, some of these guys don't know anyone in the group. They turn up to an event, and there's probably 50 lads there, and they come walking up, and I can see they're a bit sheepish, their heads down, their hands are in their pockets, they're looking around, they're thinking to themselves, oh, what the fuck have I done this?
I don't know anyone. These all know each other, and fucking hell.
Yeah, and I call them the generals. So I've got generals in the group. There's this hoodie I've got. Ricky designed it before he passed away, and we've got our names on him. So only select few have these names on, and you've got to be giving back to the group to earn one of these hoodies. And you don't pay for this hoodie. You can't buy this hoodie. This hoodie is gifted from me and the other generals, and you have to earn it.
They classed as like your go-to, so when the newbies come,
so then when you come to an event, say if you go to the talking circle, there'll be Steve and Paul there at our talking circle, and when you turn up, you'll see them. They'll have their hoodie on with their name on, Steve and Paul. They're really nice guys, are really approachable. They might not look the very most approachable people, but they're very loving and caring.
You just
guys.
got to not judge a book by its cover, innit?
Yeah, and then I've got Lloydie and Dean, the Wrekin Challenger share, and I've got Walk and Talk on a Sunday. So the Wrekin Giant down at Southwater, massively big supporters of us. They did us Christmas dinner for like
the whole place was rammed, wasn't it?
It was rammed full of men.
I love that.
They give that us for half price.
It's amazing.
And they give us breakfast every Sunday for half price.
Why can't more people get behind this, Lee? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And it'd be really good for us if more people could get behind 100%. It. Like, there's a cafe in Wellington. When we do the Wrekin on a Saturday, they've started helping us and opening up early so lads can go and have breakfast. There is quite a few people that come forward to help. But, some people come forward, they say, yeah, I want to help you. And then when I go to them, oh, can you help us? They go, oh, I'm busy. I can't at the minute.
Yeah, I get that. Now, I've had the pleasure of interviewing you guys for the local magazine, the Scene magazine, which is distributed across the Midlands. Have you had much more media coverage with regards to Primal?
So, we've had the Shropshire Star a little bit. I think they might be coming down to take a picture at the hub. We've got the mayor, what's going to be cutting the ribbon.
Nice.
We've got the mayor coming down. I think we've got Sean Davis, the local MP, he's going to be coming down to show his face. We've got quite a few people within the council and that we're going to be showing their face and stuff. But realistically, it's only Shropshire Radio what's really...
Is it?
Yeah, so Dean and Lloydie have gone on the Shropshire Radio a couple of times, and I think they're on it again Friday. So Dean, Lloydie and AK, they're like my little team.
Yeah, the representatives.
Oh, they're they do so much. Primal Instinct probably would have died when Ricky died. Okay. If it wasn't for them.
Yeah,
because I was in such a bad place when Ricky passed away. I needed help.
And how can you help other people when you need the help yourself?
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean?
And that's what I was trying to break down to people. I was like, how can I help everyone if I need help myself?
And that's what's the sad story with Ricky as well. All them men that he supported and helped, but he couldn't help himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? That's what... I didn't know Ricky as close as you did, do you know what I mean? He was around kind of my areas. We all knew him as the Malta lad, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was always good with the ladies back in the day and all that stuff. He had the gift of the gab, that boy did. But when I learnt of his passing, all I'd seen was kind of him representing you guys and representing talk, and then to hear of how he's passed, it wasn't a natural death and stuff. You've it's hard, man. It's hard when someone's helped so many people, but the truth and the sadness is that they couldn't help themselves is pretty heartbreaking, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not going to jump back into that because I know it affects you, but do you know what I'm saying with
man,
that?
it fucking really knocks me about, to be honest. And but I will always talk about Ricky, and I always say like he was a ladies' man. He'd laugh the knickers off a woman. Do you know what I mean? He was a big man. He put a lot of weight on, and do you know what I mean? But he could laugh the knickers off a woman.
I knew him, and I knew his younger brother as well.
Yeah, Adam.
I knew Adam as well.
So Adam's totally different to
I was going to say they're chalk and cheese, them two.
Oh yeah,
chalk and cheese.
But and Ricky was like light up the room. He'd sell snow to the Eskimos. Do you know what I mean?
That's the type of person you need in the clan, man. Do you know what I mean?
So, like everywhere we went, like he attracted people to us because of the way he was. He'd speak to anyone.
That's what you
I'll
need.
talk to anyone, and I'll waffle on, and I'll go into rants and stuff. But he had a different kind of aura about him. Like people just wanted to give him a hug.
Yeah.
And he literally everyone hugged because of him. And that's where it come from, the hugging. Like it was to embrace each other.
Yeah, no, that's a great feeling to have, really. A good quality to have as well in people. Do you know what I mean? There's not a lot of people that do have that quality. Now, this is an interesting one here, Lee. Now, aside from the music that I do, I also advocate for men's mental health, and I support a lot of men behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And you know, I haven't got any qualifications, but I've got life experiences. But one thing that I've had one or two women reach out to me, okay, and their attitude is, well, you don't support women with their mental health, and it is a good question, but I'll be honest, Lee, I don't understand women at the best of times, so to support them with their mental health, I wouldn't be able to do that as consistently as I can with men. Have you ever had them similar comments?
Yes.
You have? Okay, that's interesting, because I've had them a few times, and I wondered if you had on a bigger scale.
Oh yeah, you don't care about women's mental health.
I've had
and
that.
I'm like, I've never been a woman. I've been with my wife now 15 years, and I still don't understand my wife. So how the hell am I going to help women with mental health?
Yeah,
I always say it's different for women. Like they'll do the school run, and they'll be gone 2 hours because they'll stand talking outside the school with someone. And
see, it's a social thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so that's them ranting with each other, and so they've probably done their talking there or something. I don't know, man. So I've never been a girl. I've never been a woman. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know how they think, but the amount of people that have messaged Primal Instinct on social media
and said that similar thing,
that
that's interesting.
You should start up a woman's one. I ain't got time.
I'm doing enough as it is.
Yeah, man. I'm too busy to be thinking about helping women, and that sounds horrible, but I've lost a few good mates to suicide, and I want to stop men from killing themselves.
100%.
So I'm not here to help women. I'm here to help men.
Yeah.
The only women I care about are my daughters and my wife. They're the only women I care about in my life, and that's my daughters and my wife.
And effectively, when you think about it, when you're helping, you know, people that have fucked up as a dad or, you know, fucked up as a husband, effectively you are helping them women in the long run. Do you know what I mean? Because you're making that man be the best version of themselves, which in return will be the best partner and the best dad to, you know.
I have had some wives message me privately, and be like, he's the man I fell in love with.
Come on.
It's great to have my husband back again.
That's brilliant,
I don't know what you guys are doing down the river. I don't know what you guys are doing, but he's come back.
Mate, that's a wicked comment. And like, that is a class comment.
And when wives do reach out and say stuff like that to us, and like I've had a couple private message me, and I'm like, that touches my soft spot in my heart, because then I think, man, he must have been in a really shitty place. He must have been a horrible husband at that time. But what he's doing now, and what we're giving him, the support we're giving him, it's making him the best version he possibly can be, the best husband he can be. Especially when women are saying, "Oh, he's the man I fell in love with again." It's great to have him back.
Spot on, that is, mate.
And I'm like, and now that I know I'm doing something right, do you know what I mean?
Now, you mentioned that Primal Instincts takes up a lot of your time. How do you manage like a healthy home life to primal life? Do you know what I mean? Is there a thin line that you kind of, or do you find that a lot of the primal stuff goes into your home life as well?
Yeah, man, I struggle with that.
I bet you do, mate. I struggle with my music, trying to kind of balance the
I struggle
life.
really bad, man. And me and my wife, we can have some serious arguments about Primal Instinct. And sometimes she'll be like, "You put them before me," and I'm like, "Babe, I'll die for you tomorrow." But do you know what I mean? I said, these men I'm trying to stop men from killing themselves, because if they kill themselves, I said, there's kids growing up without a dad. I said, you know what it's like growing up without a dad. I said, so there's going to be kids out there lose a dad. I said, they're going to lose, women out there are going to lose a husband.
It's that ripple effect, bro.
I said, and if they lose their husband, I said, they might lose their houses.
Yeah.
I said, then these wives and kids could be homeless.
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's a knock-on effect.
It is.
But people don't realise this.
No,
they don't understand this.
No.
You know what I mean? Not everyone's got that in them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
And I often think, like, more recently, obviously without mentioning names, but there was a certain male that came to me and was like, look, I know you advocate for mental health. I'm stuck. I'm struggling. I'm at my lowest I've possibly been. And straight away, you know, Primal Instinct, pew, in my head, I'm like, yes, you need to come to these. These will make you a better version of yourself. And, like, yeah, he was voice noting me at silly o'clock, and I kept going out of the room to voice note him back. You know, my wife was like, we're supposed to be watching a film. I'm like, nah. The point where he's at in his life now, if I just left it because it was an inconvenient time and then seen an announcement tomorrow that
he's killed himself,
blah blah blah's passed on, how do I live with that, Lee?
No. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So yes, it might be an inconvenience that I can't sit and watch TV because I'm going in and out voice noting, but fuck me, this is quite a valuable thing to why I'm doing it.
So my
do you know
phone
what I mean?
rang at 2 o'clock in the morning. I got up out of bed and my wife was like, what are you doing? And I was like, this guy needs me. She was like, I need you, get back into bed. And I was like, I'm sorry, I've got to go and help him. And then I went, talked him down, give him the support he needed, give him a hug, phoned his wife. His wife's come and met him and that. And, you know, look out, try and help people, because one day he might be able to do that for someone else who's in a bad spot. 100%. And he might think, Lee did that for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to do that for someone else.
Yeah, I mean, just from referring this certain male that I'm talking about to your service, like, I had a message back off him and he was like, you know, they've reached out to me. I'll never forget this, mate. Do you know what I mean? And that one little sentence there, I was like, I don't want the recognition. I don't want blowing smoke up my ass. But the fact that he's gone, I won't forget this, mate. Do you know what I mean? You reached out to me when I needed it. Like, you know what I mean? The fact that you've pointed me, because I'm, you know, I don't know how he wouldn't have heard of you guys, but, you know, he didn't really know anything about you guys. So I gave him a bit of a lowdown from what I know. And yeah, that's stuck with him now. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Do you know what I mean?
We're quite an intimidating group of men, aren't we?
Yeah, I suppose so.
When you see that Viking clap and the primal screams and that, and it's like 100 blokes.
If you're timid in that, you're like,
if you're not, if you're not like outspoken and quite confident within your skin, it's quite a scary thing to come to. Yeah. So that's why I always like try to say, like, if someone comes, it's scary for them. They're stepping out their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Approach them with a smile on your face, or hug them, and call them a brother, like, and say, look, definitely. I'm here for you, man.
So finally, then, related to Primal Instincts, then, mate, where do you see Primal Instincts? I'm not going to say 5 years. I'm not going to say 10 years. I'm just going to say in the future.
We're going to be the biggest men's mental health club.
Come on,
in England.
Of course you are. There's no doubt about it, bro.
I want a men's health centre in Telford.
Nice,
and I've got to start with this hub.
Wouldn't it be wicked if it was an actual, like, NHS funded? I know it's a lot to ask, Lee. I know that, like, but
mate,
I'm NHS funded service.
Do you know, I've got a mentor now called Jenny, and she's class. Like, so she's advising us on what steps to take, and I've told her what I want. I want a men's mental health centre in Telford. There's no blueprint to this men's mental health centre. There's no blueprint to what we are doing right now. There's no medical history of what we're doing, but it's something we're doing. It's unique, it's out there, and it's helping. So I want Shropshire to have its first men's health centre. And why isn't that possible? There should be every reason that is possible. I want Shropshire to have its first men's health centre. You know, women go to spas and stuff and they can have that. Why can't we have a health centre? Why can't we have... Yeah, we go to the gyms and stuff like that. But I want more than just a gym for men. And why can't we have that in Shropshire? There is no blueprint to a men's mental health group. There is no blueprint. I am just winging it. I'm asking for support off everyone all the time. And people come forward, like the Dawley Town Council. They've massively helped. They give us a room at Dawley Town Hall free of charge every week for the last over a year. Like Simon Eccleston up there, he is the man, and it is absolutely amazing the support he's give us. And there is a few people like this. That's why you see I'm repping the Dawley Town top.
Yeah.
They've even had our logo put on their training tops.
Love that.
So and now AFC Telford have had our logo put on their training tops, and I'm hoping it's going to be like a ripple effect. I'm hoping it's knocking on, because even like professional footballers, firemen and stuff like that, at some point in their life they're going to need somewhere to come and talk to, and I'm hoping by then I'm going to have a men's health centre where they can come, and I'm going to have a counsellor there 24/7 what's going to sit down and be able to talk to people free of charge. Like you're not going to have to pay 150 quid to see this counsellor. Like all you have to do is just come, and it'll be like, it's going to be a health centre.
Love that.
There is going to be like a gym. I want a swimming pool, you know, and all them kind of things.
Love that.
Because I feel like we need it.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why I do a lot of stuff out in nature.
Yeah.
Because if you think, go back to our primal instincts, back in the day, men in our village, we would have gone out and hunted and got the meat, and we'd fight to protect our village, and the women would look after the kids, and you know, they'd cook the food and wash the clothes, but we'd be out together. So me and you would be out hunting to feed our families together. We'd hunt together, we'd fight together, we'd spend all our time with each other.
Yeah.
But now we've got to a generation or an era where men shit on each other. Men talk crap about each other. They put each other down. Why put each other down? Why don't we uplift each other?
100%, yeah. 100%.
And help each other? Like, and that's something what I feel like we need to start breeding back into the young generation and tell them, look, don't take the piss out of your mate all the time. Like,
uplift him, man.
Uplift him, man, and encourage him. He's got a boxing match this weekend. He's lost, and you're going to take the piss out of him for losing. He's got in there. He's had the courage to get in there, and he's had the courage
100%,
to do it and step out of his comfort zone. So encourage it. Don't take the piss out of him for losing. Encourage him to be the best. 100%. Encourage him to be better.
Yep.
And that's what I feel like we don't do enough.
No, we don't anymore. You're right there. Now, mate, I just want to say, like, now we've covered Primal Instincts, we've covered yourself, we've covered the legend that is Ricky Briffa. Like, thank you so much, firstly, for your time, bro. Like, honestly, genuinely, you've been on my radar with Primal Instincts for so long now. I managed to get that little cheeky interview with you on the scene through voice notes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You voice noted me typing the shit out of it, thinking, I ain't asking Lee to send voice notes next time, just get him to type the shit up. But you're here, mate, which is even better. So yeah, I want to say thank you for that, mate. Like, genuinely, I do appreciate it.
Yeah,
and
man.
Big ups to each and every one of the Primal Instincts, man. And if you are ever wondering to get involved, just honestly, just Google them, you know, Primal Instincts Telford. They're across your socials. Now, we're going to go into the last part of the show now, mate, because it's fucking icy cold in here, don't you reckon?
Yeah, man.
I have got a heater, but like I said, when I switch the heater on, you can hear it on the mic. So, I should have told you to bring a bigger jacket, mate. But we're going to the last part of the show now. Now, with this last part of the show, this is my favourite part of the show because it's a bit more uplifting. It's just positive. I'm going to chuck you some random questions, right? Now, I don't tell you about this because some people can get mad anxious about this, but they're just proper random questions, bro. No answer is a wrong answer. You can pass, you can choose to pass. I don't expect you to answer every single one of them. So let's get into it, mate. You ready for this? Get yourself comfy.
Oh, man.
Last part of the show, let's go.
Okay, come on.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
The strength to take away people's pain.
Nice, I love that. Okay, what's the craziest rumour you've ever heard about yourself? It's raw and uncut, mate. It don't matter what you say.
Oh shit! I don't even want to say it on here.
Well, pass then. You can pass.
I'll
you can
pass.
God, that's got me intrigued. That's one for off air. That is.
Yeah, off air.
Have you ever had a paranormal or an unexplainable experience?
When you say paranormal, like I went to see a psychic once, and they knew stuff that no one else knew.
This is what I don't get about these psychics, mate.
Yeah.
Some people are like mad against them. I'm pretty open to it, mate, because I have had things in the past where psychics have told me stuff that, honestly, Lee, no one would have known.
I went to see a woman in Stafford, man, and she said some stuff, and I thought, yeah, you're full of shit. But then it really happened.
Because when they fire out them generic ones, like they look at a lad of our age and they go, yeah, you've got a grandparent in the afterlife. Most people our age, their grandparents have moved on, so that's generic to me. Do you know what I mean? But when they say certain things, it gets you thinking, bro. It does.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
What's the most unusual job you've ever had?
I worked in a chicken factory.
Oh, okay. It wasn't for Sender in Horton Wood by any chance, was it? Because that's the chicken. Yeah, it was. Come on. My mum did a bit of a stint there, bless her.
And I worked in a toilet roll factory.
Okay.
So 2 random places.
Fucking hell, that is random, mate.
Yeah,
wasn't expecting that shit. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Don't eat yellow snow.
There was one about white dog poo. Do you know what? That's something. I mean, this is random as shit, but this is what these questions are about. You never see white dog muck anymore, do you? Do you remember back in the day you used to see white dog shit, and you'd be like, fucking white dog shit there.
Yeah, and you dare your mate to touch it.
Yeah.
I dare you to touch it. I'll give you 10 if you touch it.
Easiest tenner I ever made.
Yeah.
Well, apparently you don't see that no more. It's because they've stopped putting a certain thing in dog food now, so that's why you don't see white dog shit.
Oh, no way,
There you
man.
go. So if ever you're on fucking some trivia thing, mate, just remember Dribbz said that.
Yeah, man, I will.
What's the weirdest talent that you have?
The weirdest talent I can have? Oh, fucking hell. I ain't got a clue.
Yeah, all good, all
I
good.
ain't got a clue,
If
mate.
you had a time machine, would you fix your past mistakes or would you see your future?
Oh, that's a tough one.
It's good to know, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what? I wouldn't fix my past mistakes because I wouldn't be the man I am now.
There's so many people say that to me. Yeah.
So I'd probably go to the future, but do you know what? I'd love to see where my bloodline comes from.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've been interested in that.
I'd love to go back to see where I actually come from.
Yeah. So on that, like a previous guest, and I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning, there's a guy called Marcus Keane, and he runs Telford Memories, the massive group Telford Memories on Facebook. It's got thousands of members, and he was saying like his mom is a massive Elvis fan. She's an old girl, like, and he was going through some family history and that, and he sent the DNA off for testing, and it came back to this certain place in America. I mean, these guys are from Telford, like certain place in America, and when they dug back, his mom actually shared the same DNA as Elvis Presley, and she was like a massive fan of his. She was like 3rd or 4th cousin to Elvis Presley.
Oh my god!
I swear to God, bro. You know what I mean? So he flew her out to where Elvis Presley's resting space is, and they went and did this, and yeah, man, his mom took the paperwork and was showing all the stuff. So I thought that was a bit mad, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if you're a
nuts.
fan of someone, then all of a sudden you find out that you're long distance. I don't know. It's crazy. It's
Yes,
crazy.
My wife's family did something like that, and her nan's bloodline come from King of Scotland. Is it George Bruce or something?
As
like
if.
That? Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I'd love to know where my bloodline comes from.
Yeah, man. What's the most interesting place that you've ever visited?
Interesting place. I'd love to go to Rome.
Okay.
I'd love to go to Rome, but I can't say the most interesting place I've been, really. I think it might have been Edinburgh.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot of history there.
Yeah, there's
and
loads of
I
history.
fought in the World Championships there, so I got to see a lot of the
Went to
history there.
explore that.
Yeah, man, and it was surreal. Like,
Nice.
it had an eerie feeling about it.
Right, yeah.
Old cobbles and all that.
What's the weirdest smell that you've ever smelt? Wife's farts. Sorry, Mrs. Stevens.
Probably the toilets on site.
I love it. What is something that everybody looks stupid doing, in your opinion?
Oh, fucking hell.
I'll give you an example. One of my past guests, it was a bit close really, because his missus works for the NHS. He was like, the most stupidest thing I remember is clapping for the NHS with saucepans on the doorstep. And I'm like, nah, man, that was important back then. He's like, nah, it's stupid. Thinking back now, it's fucking stupid. Why we
Yeah,
all
it
did
was,
that.
wasn't it?
I mean, it was really, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was fucking stupid. Like, why did we do that?
Bang, bang,
What
bang.
about all the military? What,
No,
put their life on the line?
we're not bothered about them. It's
Yeah.
all about these key
Yeah, yeah.
workers, and everyone registered themselves as a key worker. As soon as you could have time off work, you're a key worker. You don't matter what you did. There's some. I shouldn't really well. There's some doilies in close proximity and never worked a day's work in their life. I slapped up this Facebook thing saying I can't go to work. I'm a key worker. I'm like, you don't fucking work. You've never worked a day's work in your life.
Yeah.
Mad.
You know what? That probably was the stupidest thing. I remember, you know what? I met some of my neighbours. I didn't really know my neighbours at the time. And then, like, I went out and my wife was, like, clapping and all the neighbours were out clapping. And I looked up and down the street and I thought, oh, it's probably the only time we get to see anyone at this time because we were all locked in the houses. As if we all listened to the government and locked us all in our own houses.
I know, thinking back now, like, yeah, mad. Like, you know, you can, what was it? You can go to the bar, but you have to wear a mask. But as soon as you get to that table, you can take that mask off.
Yeah, like, I went to Aldi with the mask on, and I had my daughter with me, and I took the mask off because my daughter like was looking at my lips when I was talking. And everyone was throwing me dirty looks. And then when I got the manager to come and tell me to put my mask on, and I was like, no, I ain't. You've got your mask on. What's the problem?
Yeah.
And they asked me to leave. And I was like, it's making my daughter feel uncomfortable, me having a mask on, so I ain't having a mask on.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is.
Yeah. What we abided to back then was crazy.
The stupidest thing I think what everyone did was buy all the fucking toilet roll. What was that about? Why was everyone stocking up on toilet roll?
Because 90% of society is like sheep, mate, and if something gets put on the media, they're straight out on there, do you know what I mean? Like, they're doing it like, you know, there's going to be a shortage, right? We'll go and buy 5,000 packs of the toilet roll.
Yeah.
There was people,
we're going to be really selfish, and we're going to buy it all for ourselves, so we're not going to give anyone else, and no one else can wipe their arse.
How bad's that?
The little old lady what lives down the bottom of the street, what can't wipe her ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to keep all this toilet roll to myself. It's selfish as fuck, and I found that really showed what the community's like now. We don't look out for each other. No. We don't support each other. We don't help each other. Yeah. Everyone's out for themselves.
Yeah, 100%. And like, you know, like, it wasn't until we started having the COVID restrictions where like there was a lockdown in place and that, and like you started seeing on Facebook there was like deer in the middle of housing estates and stuff, and it's like, no way, that's natural, man. But because we're always firing up the cars and the motorbikes and people around, these nature obviously stays away. But when we kept it on the D-low, the nature was able to, you know what I mean? I love that shit, man.
And you know what? When we was in COVID, I loved living in Telford. When I was growing up, I used to hate living in Telford because everyone knew everyone, and everyone was always sticking their nose in. But I'd go for a walk with my wife and kids, and within 5 minutes, I'm in the countryside, and we're seeing absolute amazing stuff. Like you said, we're seeing deers and stuff, and it's great growing up around Shropshire. Being surrounded by farms. As much as people hate Telford and Shropshire because there's another side to Telford and Shropshire, but like being surrounded by farms and us being able to go out in nature and see all this beautiful wildlife is great for the kids. No, 100%. Especially in COVID when no one was about.
Yeah, I think the first COVID, I'm sure that hit on where it was my birthday, 23rd of March, and like, I remember it being scorching hot, red hot, man. The first one, red hot it was.
Yeah, I remember it. I slabbed my back garden.
I think everyone was either slabbing, they either built a bar in their garden. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
We got government grants, didn't we? So I bought some slabs and ended up slabbing my garden. I spent most of my time in the garden. It's probably the best suntan I ever had.
I can remember, because I'm a big dog walker. Like, you know, I've got my bulldog, I've got my my Labrador, and I take them out like at least twice a day, especially around all these places. You know, it's stunning, like around the bottom of the Wrekin and that. And like, I can remember going out for a third cheeky dog walk and looking over my shoulder, and if there was a car coming round, I'd be like, "Hope it's not the coppers." You know what I mean?
Because they've told you can only go out for one walk a day.
Bullshit.
Who the fuck are you to tell us we can only go out for one walk a day?
I think if the country I don't think they would now because of recession and how it hit the economy, you know, the whole lockdown. But I think that ain't a lot of people that'd be listening second time, third time around, is there?
Nah, I didn't listen on the second time round.
Did you not?
Nah.
I did.
I give up on the second one, I did. And I never went and got...
seeing my mum and that, like, do you know what I mean? Because it was safe. And thinking back now, I'm like, why is there waste that moments?
Yeah, so my wife, she only had a dad in her life towards the last few years, and COVID landed.
Oh shit.
And he was like, "Oh, don't come near me, you stay there." And I wish that she had that opportunity, because he ended up passing away. And I wish they just said fuck COVID, and she could have spent more time with him before he passed away, because she only had a few years with him.
That's awful. So it's mad. Like we were going to funerals with 15 people there when there should have been 500 people there because of how loved and popular the person was. You know what I mean? It was it was pretty deep. Anyway, that's for another podcast. If you could choose one animal as a battle companion, which one would it be?
A lion.
Yeah, 100%. If you could remove one emotion from the world forever, which would it be?
Anger.
See, I thought jealousy, but yeah, man, anger's a big one.
It's okay to be jealous.
Yeah, I suppose it's probably
me and my wife. Me and my wife, we get jealous a lot over each other, and I think you know, sometimes it still shows that sign that you still love each other, and
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I suppose
think anger's the worst because it revolts to violence.
It does, mate. Yeah, it makes you do stupid ass things, man.
Yeah.
What sport do you find silly and have trouble understanding why others enjoy them?
Golf.
Okay, yeah. I'm with you on that.
Golf.
It's all right for pissing around, just like twatting it one. But
Yeah, so I spoke to my mate who plays a lot of golf, and he's quite good at golf. I said I'll go down the driving range with him, but to try and hit that silly little ball into a tiny little hole up there, like,
Yeah.
that's got to be the most frustrating sport in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah,
Like, why do people enjoy that?
I say this on most of my podcasts when people mention like this one, like F1 for me, mate. I'm sorry if you're a big F1 fan.
No, I'm not,
but
no.
What the fuck is that about? You know, my mates pay ridiculous amount of monies to go to the sidelines of F1. Kids holding up signs and that. It's
Yeah.
like another 7 minutes till it comes round again.
Yeah,
Do you know
and
what I
then
mean?
when it comes, it's, 0.4 of a second?
Do you know what I mean? It's
Didn't even see the fucking car.
Yeah,
It
it's
was that
biz-
much, we're going that fast, it was a blur.
It's bizarre, bro. It's
I
bizarre.
agree with you.
Why do round pizzas come in square boxes? That's, you know, it's not a question that needs an answer, but it's a bit random, isn't it?
Fucking hell, never thought
Think
of
of
that.
that.
Why do they come in square boxes?
I don't know, bro. I don't know. It's just another wonder of the world, mate.
Yeah.
What? No, it might be a bit controversial. This one, you can choose to pass this one, bro. What was the worst date that you've ever experienced? That Lee Stevens smile's coming up. Look, you know.
Yeah, man. Fucking hell.
Pass.
Pass.
What kind of food would you eat if you could eat only one meal for the rest of your life? Is there anything you're mad for?
I'm a meat eater.
Yeah, my last guest said pork. He was like, yeah, pork chop. I love a good steak though, I do, bro. Can't beat that.
Yeah.
These vegans don't know what they're missing.
No, they don't know.
Veggies.
I'm a meat eater, so it'd either be a steak or like a good, decent chicken breast.
Come on. What type of clothing do you no longer want to wear but you can't get rid of?
So I'm very like old school, the terraces, and straight leg jeans.
Okay, yeah.
I tried skinny jeans for a bit, man, and I felt like a knobhead. Do you know what I mean? And I tried baggy jeans, I felt like a knobhead, and like, as much as I look like I'm going to school with a straight leg jeans,
Just prefer them, yeah.
I'm just gonna keep rocking
Yeah,
them.
man, yeah, I get that, mate. As a child, what was your favourite game to play?
Aki 1, 2, 3.
What's that, bro?
You don't know Aki 1, 2,
It might have been called something different to us Donington folk, mate.
Yeah, so there'd be like 20, 30 kids. One person has to stay on this lamppost, count to like 30. We all run and hide, but then they've got to come looking for us. But then once they see one of us, they've got to run back to the lamppost, beat us to it, touch the lamppost and shout, Aki 1, 2, 3, you're out.
Okay, so that was called Murky in Donington.
Oh, was it?
Murky.
Yeah, so we played that a lot as kids.
We used to do head shopping as well. Poor Muxton, mate. As Donington lads, like, I mean, poor
Head shopping
Muxton
was the best, wasn't it?
It was great, mate, until you found a pond in the front garden. A few of my lads went straight in pond, straight overhead, straight in a pond, man. Boom.
Yeah, we did a lot of head shopping.
But Muxton had it, mate. You know, I apologise to Muxton from 90% of the youth in Donington, because like Muxton was a fairly new estate when we were in Donington.
Yeah.
Donington Wood wasn't there; it was just Donington. And anytime anyone had a new air rifle,
Yeah.
a new
Catapult.
Black Widow catapult.
Yeah.
Let's go to Muxton, try it out. Let's go to Muxton, try it out. Poor fuckers in Muxton. They just be
Yeah,
like, they
man.
terrorised by
So-
the fucking Donington lads.
Donington was very similar to like Dawley. I find we're very similar in different ways, and yeah, we'd go terrorise everywhere else as well.
Mad. Yeah, there's fucking loads of games, man. There's a few things we used to do that in hindsight now it's a bit fucking, you know the old one about lighting the dog shit in the newspaper, and then they
Oh
come
my
in,
God.
open the door and stamp it out, and you're
Yeah,
like,
we did that. We thought that was hilarious, and sometimes we'd get firelighters, get a tin of beans and light the firelighters under the beans, so the beans would explode.
Never.
Beans all up the front door. Yeah,
we're giving the youth some ideas here.
Yeah,
mate.
we did loads of stuff like that.
Right, we're coming up to our last two. What excuse have you recently used to avoid doing something? I'm going on a podcast, I can't wash the dishes.
Yeah. Oh, fucking hell, it's probably a bit with my wife. And
I'm going to be honest with you, I've pretended to stay asleep just so I don't have to get up with the baby.
I have done that.
But my wife will literally.
And like when my kids were small, like, and they'd have a shitty nappy, and I'd go, "Yeah, babe, can you grab hold of her? I just need to go to the toilet." And then I'll go hide in the toilet, and I'd wait till she finished changing the nappy, and then come back out.
Love that. And finally, bro, and this kind of wraps up the whole podcast. What do you yourself want to be remembered for?
Just generally being a good person, being the best dad I can possibly be, being the best husband I can possibly be, just being the best version of me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of stuff in the past, people would probably admire and people would probably look up to that. I don't feel like that was the right one of me. I feel like who I am now is a better role model than what I was back then. But I'm very proud, I'm very stubborn, quite a strong-minded person. So yeah,
I get that, mate. I get that. So that brings us to the end of the podcast. How have you found it?
Mate, I appreciate you having me on here, man.
You enjoyed it?
Do. Yeah, it's the first time I've ever done a podcast.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, you've bossed it, mate. You've bossed it.
We've sat here for a few hours.
Yeah, a couple of hours, bro. So it makes nice, easy listening. I find that with a lot of my listeners, I had one or two comments that were like, you should only have them an hour long. I can't even cover a little bit of what I want to get out there in an hour. Do you know what I mean? So my podcasts do tend to go roughly around the 2 hour section, but I have a lot of listeners that will listen on commute to works while they're doing the housework. Do you know what I mean? They'll stick it on in the background.
Yeah, well, I'll waffle on about all sorts.
That's good. That's what I need, bro. That's
talk.
what I need. Do you know what I mean? I've had some, not mentioning any guest names because each guest I've had's been amazing, but I've had some guests that I've been like, say that if I say the subject, then the guest will know exactly who I'm talking about. But they've had a particular interest in a subject, and I've gone, so what got you into that interest? Was there a particular moment? Was there a particular something that you've seen? And they just went, nah, I just kind of fell into it. That was it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just like, fuck, give me more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But nah, man, I think you've bossed it, mate. I think you've done a really good job with that, bro. Hopefully someone out there will relate. If they don't relate, I hope they've enjoyed the podcast. So you've been listening to Dribbz Talks podcast with Lee Stevens, Primal Instincts at its finest. Once again, if you want to check out Primal Instincts, check them out on all the socials. And this one will be out very, very soon. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. All the good stuff. Take care, people, and keep it blessed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dribbz Talks podcast. We're bringing it to you real, raw and uncut. A safe place where we can talk about anything and everything. So like, share and subscribe. But most importantly, keep it locked. Everything's gonna be just fine, everything's gonna be okay. Just take one step at a time, that's what the leaflets say.